Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, November 12th. It's about 7 p.m. Tonight is a Planning and Zoning Commission general meeting and public hearing. We are here in Town Hall Room 206, so welcome, everybody. The first item on our agenda is the general meeting. It is the election of officers, the chairman, vice chairman, secretary, and the Blight Review Board appointments. How do you want to start this, Jeremy?
You can start from chairman, or
You call for nominations.
Ask for nominations and see where it takes us.
Okay, usually it's the oldest member of the commission, or the most senior member of the
I
commission.
think that's you.
That might be me, okay? So the first item on the agenda would be the election of an officer for the chairman's position. Are there any nominations?
I nominate you,
Oh, you do? Oh,
Mr.
thank you.
O'Bannon.
Oh, thank you.
Continue in your footsteps.
Thank you. Is there a second to that nomination?
I'll second.
Okay, are there any other nominations for chairman?
Move to close.
Second for the move to close? There we go. Okay, for election of the chairman, it would be Stephen Ovani. All those in favor? 5. All those opposed?
Acclaim. It's unanimous.
It's unanimous. Thank you. All right, it is unanimous, 5-0 to 1. Thank you, everybody, for your trust in me and working together with everybody and staff. I appreciate it. It has been a fun ride. It continues always to be and always different. Next item on the agenda is the election of the vice chairman. Do we have any nominations for vice chairman? I have a nomination. I invite Adam. I'm nominating Adam.
Yeah, I wasn't focusing on that, but yes. I want to second that one.
Is there a second? Yes. Any other nominations for vice chairman? I move to close the nomination for vice chairman. All in favor of Adam being the vice chairman again for 2026, 2025-26? It is unanimous, 5-0 to 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations yourself.
Thank you, sir. Next person to be elected would be the secretary for the board for the Planning and Zoning Commission. All right, any nominations for secretary? Ms.
I
Barczyk?
nominate my friend here, Mike Netter.
Mike, is there a second to that?
Second.
I have a second from Adam. Any other nominations for secretary? Seeing none, I would move to vote for Mr. Natter as the secretary. All those in favor?
Let his name
All
go
opposed?
down in flames with the Google search.
There you go. All opposed? Nope. Okay, Mr. Natter is chairman of secretary. Thank you very much. It's nice to see your name in the paper every week. The next item on the agenda will be the nomination for the Blight Review Board appointment. Any nominations for that?
I nominate George.
What I
We
ever
have
do
a-
to you?
I'll second that.
We have a second for that, Mr. Natter. Any other nomination for the Blight Review Board? Seeing that, I
Stuck on it again.
move to close the nomination for Blight Review. All those in favor for George being on the Blight Review Board?
Sure.
5-0.
Guy ushered in
All
fines on
opposed?
commercial property.
Opposed?
Gotta
Yeah.
stay on it.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations, George.
Oh, thank you.
You're on the Blight Review Committee one more time.
Getting to mow those lawns.
I think that is the end of our,
Friends everywhere I turn.
fantastic. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the 2025 meeting schedule. In our packets, electronic or otherwise, we got a draft of the meeting schedule. It's basically, again, 3 meetings a month, 10 months a year, no meetings in August, no meetings in December. I see that the election day is not on here. Thanksgiving doesn't look like it's on here. It would never be on here. It's a Thursday. 4th of July is not. And I'm sure you covered all the school vacations.
We try.
Fantastic. Any questions on the meeting schedule? I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting schedule for calendar year 2025. George makes the motion, Adam makes the second. All those in favor? Calendar's approved. We have our meeting schedule we can file with the town clerk when it is signed by the chairman. All righty. That will be the end of the general meeting. Now we're going to go into the public hearing for this evening. First item on the public hearing is coastal site plan review number 365A, flood damage prevention application number 418A, also known as PL 24-138, Gilbert and Anne Holmes at 12 Pratt Island. The proposal to construct additions and alterations to the existing residence on the property and perform related site development activities within a regulated area. The 0.43 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the southwest side of Pratt Island, approximately 1,130 feet south of its intersection with Nearwater Lane and Baywater Drive, and is shown on Assessor map number 55 as lot number 120 in the R1 residential zone. Jeremy, what do we got?
Yeah, Steve, this is
Fred, what do we got?
an existing single-family home on the lot now. It's non-conforming relative to setbacks and the flood regulations. The applicant, prior to coming before the Planning and Zoning Commission, went before the Zoning Board of Appeals for additional volume within the setbacks. The ZBA issued an approval on October 23rd, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The property's in the AE 14 flood zone. The first floor is at elevation 12, with the garage being at elevation 8. With the additions, the floors will remain at 12 for the first floor and 8 for the garage. The application was submitted in conformance with sections 810 and 820 of the Darien zoning regulations under our coastal site plan and flood damage prevention regulations. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated October 22nd. The applicant and applicant's representative, Chad Nearing, the applicant's architect and representative, did submit revised plans that addressed Mr. Canis's comments in part. I've asked Chad to review Mr. Canis's comments this evening and the plan's compliance with those comments. We have not yet received final endorsement from Joe Canis regarding this application. We do believe that some of these comments may be able to be addressed as part of conditions of approval, but Chad will give us his answers as to the plan's compliance with Mr. Canis's comments. I also will note that Mr. Canis rescinded his comments 5A and 5B, so those are off the table. And like I said, Chad Nearing is here this evening to present the details of the application and answer your questions.
It's also a non-conforming lot because it's below the 1 acre, right?
Yes.
So that is already a preconceived approval by ZBA. Okay. Chad, welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Please tell us what you're planning on doing here.
My name is Chad Nearing. I'm the architect for Gilbert Anne Holmes at 12 Pratt Island. And with me this evening is Michelle Morris-McCauley from Artel Engineering. We're here this evening for a coastal site plan review and flood damage prevention. Gilbert Anne Holmes purchased this property in 2011. It is a substandard sized lot. It's 18,992 square feet, and the existing residence is around 5,800 square feet, which was constructed in 1991. And as Fred mentioned, we did receive ZBA approval on October 23rd. There are two parts to this proposal. One is a 108 square foot addition. So we have an existing void to the footprint where this could be squared off. This is 108 square feet. which is our addition. We have these one triangular section right here and a second right there that we are proposing to build to ultimately rework the first floor plan. So we're moving the kitchen from the front of the house to the back of the house so they can enjoy the water view. There's going to be reworking of a large slider, some windows to capitalize on that view, new kitchen, and then filling in parts of the existing, those two voids there. The second part of the proposal is raising up the ridge above the playroom and the second floor structure above the garage. So all that was approved by ZBA, and that brings us here this evening. We are not increasing any existing impervious area. This project will use FEMA substantial improvement provision, and will be constructing under the required 50% value of the assessed value of the structure. And as Fred said, the existing first floor is set at elevation 12.0. The existing garage is at 8.1, and the crawl space is 7.1, and we'll be matching all those elevations on our new building. The proposed foundation technique, we're going to be doing a helical pile on the one corner of the new build, which the whole house was built on piles originally, so we'll be doing one pile there and then doing a grade beam to connect to the existing grade beams. Our crawl spaces will be located underneath the main living area of the house, and they'll also be at elevation 7.1. And the floor joists will be anchored to the foundation walls to prevent flotation, collapse, and lateral movement. As part of this proposal, we do have a couple HVAC compressors on the right-hand side of the house. We have another one that lives in this AC pool equipment room, and we also have a generator that's sitting over between the neighbor to the left of the house, and we are going to raise these all up to elevation 15. The certificate of flood elevation is being prepared and submitted by the Archer Engineering Company for the exterior mechanicals. And I will now have Michelle Morris-McCauley discuss the site improvement plan and the project narrative.
One thing real quick, Chad, you said you're not increasing the coverage at all?
The impervious.
Okay, but the land coverage is being increased.
So we're actually building on top of the existing patio, so that is a swap coverage-wise for impervious surface.
So this plan says you're increasing it. Going from 18, I mean, it's just technical, it's still legal, but it says 18.9 going to 19.
Oh, on building coverage?
Yeah.
Correct, you're right. Building coverage, yes, we are increasing that with that plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, sorry, I was answering the wrong question.
That's okay.
Just a note for staff, version 2 of the revised site plans doesn't quite render when you open it up.
Well, Chad, we
Yeah.
uploaded version 2 of the plans?
Yeah,
Version 2. I'll upload that tomorrow.
it's there, it's just like it's smushed.
We'll try to unsmush.
Welcome, just state your name for the record, please.
Michelle Morris-McCauley with Artel Engineering Group. We provided a site improvement plan. This plan shows we provided construction staging areas. So for the garage and raising the roof, we're showing a staging area utilizing the existing driveway area. And then on the west side, to construct the addition on the west side of the house, we show a construction entrance with a driveway down to that area. We show silt fence along the southern side to protect any debris you're getting down to the sound. And we're showing that when we're done, it'll all be taken out and restored back to its natural condition. As Chad had mentioned, we have zero increase of runoff since the additions are proposed on top of an impervious patio. Since Since the proposed project does not result in an increase in impervious coverage, the storm runoff will continue to sheet flow overland in the southerly direction in the same rate as the existing conditions and continue to discharge across the lawn to a stabilized riprap channel embankment, which is right above the sound. The improvements shall not result in any drainage impacts, nor shall the base flood zone for the FEMA flood hazard zones AE and BE be impacted. The site improvements are not anticipated to cause an increase in the base flood elevations or cause any adverse flooding impacts. The coastal area resources are limited to the riprap embankment, shoreline, which will continue to provide wave attenuation, shoreline and stabilization to the Long Island Sound, and should provide limited removal of flowable pollutants, should anything get down past the silt fence. It's pretty straightforward.
It is. How'd you guys get this, the volume past ZBA? It's not easy.
We were we tried to be as minimal as possible. So we did, the roof change was a 2-foot roof change, which they certainly hinge on the least minimal adjustment required. So 2 feet allowed us space in the garage for more storage. There's some issues with just not having a basement, and even though it's a large house, they unfortunately don't have a lot of storage. So that is one of the things on that. And then the 108 square feet had very little impact. We did meet with a neighbor next door and had a very nice meeting and walked through everything with them. So the board was
That's the west neighbor or the east neighbor?
the 11 Pratt Island. So if you're looking to the house to the left. Yeah.
This neighbor.
I think it's incredibly helpful that you had insert photos of existing on each one of the elevation pages, so you could really see very quickly how minimal it really is. So that certainly was very helpful. Thank you for that.
Thank you for noticing that. Yeah, and the photos certainly help because the drawings just, they're small voids that are getting filled.
There we go. It's just that.
Yeah, little triangles of space. So, yeah.
Great. In terms of materials coming in on Pratt Island, is it that much stuff? You're not bringing in any dirt or anything like that? There's no.
No, we're going to be, we'll be doing some excavating for the foundation, and I would think that that will then immediately be put into a dump truck, hauled off, and then it will, once that's done, there'll be some gravel that comes in. There'll probably be 1 concrete truck for the grade beams, 1 for the walls, if we don't do them on a block, and we might just mix that on site, and then there's the slab material. So ultimately it would be 3 concrete trucks and then delivery trucks from the lumber yard for framing materials and roofing and windows and doors and things like that.
So at the end of the day, the reason why I asked the question is because it's a small road getting down there.
Correct.
And you know, you can get stuck if sometimes there's 2 projects going on at the same time.
Yeah, yep, no, and Michelle's drawing does show some staging. So in front of the garage, they do have, I think it's 4 parking spots, and it's actually 4.5 that ZBA is going to have us create that half into a full spot. So it's a small driveway, it's not a street, so we will be as sympathetic as possible, and then we'll be creating a construction entrance to the right of the house. And we will have that whole side of the house that will be accessible, so we won't be blocking the road.
Okay.
And I think if we need to, construction-wise, we could always use one of the public parking lots and shuttle in workers in the mornings to reduce some of the vehicular backup.
I mean, I guess the nearest public parking lot's going to be Weed Beach.
I would think so.
Summer, you're going to need a beach pass or something.
Yep, and the nice thing about Weed Beach right now is it's not being used, and my client's intention is to sort of get the things moving as quickly as possible.
So you'll be done by Memorial Day next year when it shuts down again?
The goal is before summertime, so. And I think by then will certainly be to trim and.
You'll be on the inside. In the worst case, the trucks will be gone. It'll be just the
Yeah.
interior, doing the kitchen and the interior walls and stuff.
Painting,
Yeah.
trim.
The white vans.
Yeah,
If there's white vans. Okay. I think that's it for me. Any questions from George, Adam?
George?
I just, I note in one map I'm looking at here, there is a pool and spa, but I'm not finding on that, am I, or is that just?
Yep, you're correct, yeah.
It's just not highlight, you're not doing anything with it, that's just remaining the same?
Yep, this is an existing pool.
Okay,
Existing pool, spa right next to it, and then there's a small little knee wall that's sort of.
good, all right, I just couldn't see it on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything, Adam?
Just in your response to Candace's comments, do we need to make it conditions of approval that they provide, like the documentation is under the 50% as part of the
Yes,
condition?
they'll have to provide a detailed construction estimate. So far, Chad has done that, and it's clearly below the 50%. But as it gets closer and submitted with the zoning and building permit, that will be one requirement.
So we don't need to make it a condition of approval, or we should?
Many of these comments have been addressed by Chad and his team. Chad, do you want to
Yeah,
review Candace's comments
Absolutely.
and let us know
Yeah.
if and how you've addressed each of these comments? So we know internally what may need to be included as a condition of approval.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Candace's comments, and I
Yeah,
can
so it's
just,
the one that's from October 22nd, right?
correct, yeah. And,
And he rescinded 5A and B. so
5A and B are
those-
out.
Correct.
Yep,
Those
so-
are out, okay.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah, the first one is the sediment and erosion controls. That has been submitted by Artel Engineering, and it was uploaded to Viewpoint on 11/7, and that's part of this. That was also, the project narrative was also uploaded at that time.
We just went over that 2 seconds ago.
Yep, exactly. Two, the project is relying on the substantial damage, substantial improvement provisions of the NFIP, where if a structure is improved by less than 50% of its, Mr. Candace had market value, I struck that out, and it's assessed value.
It's assessed value of the building, not the land.
Correct, just of the structure. So our comment on that is understood. The homeowners and general contractor are aware of this and will provide pricing documentation to show work is less than 50% of the structure's assessed values.
Time out 1 second. Relative to that, Jeremy, we've never had that in approval. We've never said the value of the accessory of the house is X and the improvements were Y.
We would make it a condition of the zoning and building permit, whether or not you also put that in as a condition, because it has to meet the FEMA requirements. So either way, that's a condition.
Okay, it's a condition by default.
Yes.
Okay.
He's just making mention of it, which is good. Okay, sorry, next.
Number three, he mentioned section 825D1 of the Darien zoning regulations. And our comment on this is understood. Kevin Archer, our structural engineer, will provide any supporting information. Construction documents will be filed with the building department for review. And that ultimately just addresses the building department may request supporting information. So the project will be fully designed engineering-wise.
And you said that any piece of equipment that's below the 15% is going to be bolted down.
So we're going to lift all of our mechanicals to elevation 15, and Archer Engineering will be designing those racks, that system to support those and withstand all the flood waves, velocities, et cetera, that way.
And that's all has to be signed up by a structural engineer.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's who Kevin Archer is, yeah.
Yep.
He's our structural engineer on the project. Number four, the floodplain certification letter references floodproofing. 44 CFR 60.3C does not allow residential buildings to be floodproofed. I had Kevin remove the floodproofing out of that letter, and he changed it to construction technique. So that has been uploaded onto the Viewpoint as of today.
Is that the smart vets we're talking about?
Nope, so this is in regards to the, Kevin's letter is on the exterior mechanical equipment That's the certification of flood elevation, and that's the only thing that he can certify since this is a non-FEMA compliant project. And I do have a couple copies of that for everyone. Oh, there's one more. Number 5, A and B have both been removed. And the number 6, the proposed additions will be at the existing floor elevations of the building, which is elevation 12, FEMA publication 480, page 8-5 indicates that all additions to the post-firm building must be elevated at least as high as the base flood elevation in effect when the building was built. If a new higher base flood elevation has been adopted since the building was built, additions that are substantial improvements must be elevated to the new base flood elevation. The proposed additions are not substantial improvements, provided that the requirements of Common 2 are met. The effective firm at the time of the construction was dated November 17, 1982, and indicated the base flood elevation was elevation 12 on the NGVD 29, which is approximately elevation 11, NAVD 88. Therefore, the additions are compliant with FEMA guidance, and we said correct, and we are in agreement with that. So.
Okay. Fantastic. Amy, you guys are okay?
Good.
Great. Would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application? Let's see. Negative. All right. So it looks like you're putting a small addition in one corner where the pool equipment is, another addition to move the garage and squaring off the pool deck area. There's a tiny bit of lot coverage that goes up, but no real impervious surface. Are we missing anything?
No, that covers it.
That covers it, right? All right. Anything we're missing? With that said, I enter a motion to close the hearing.
We can still accept Joe's
Yes.
final,
Yeah,
yeah,
As a
Joe's
staff
dead.
report.
as a staff report. Okay, yep,
And
then,
Joe's technically stayed.
yep, so then we're good. I'm good to close. Then, yeah.
Amy makes a motion to close it for a second. Mike's at the second. All in favor? Okay, the hearing's closed. We'll deliberate this probably in a week or so.
Great.
And get back to you.
Thank you
When are
all
you guys
very
going
much.
to start the project? You're
What's that?
going to start the project before we're at the first year or something like that?
Yes, literally, if they can, if you approve it in a week, it sounds like?
It's like 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. As soon as we can get in for a building permit, Gil Holmes would like to get the shovel in the ground and get moving along, so.
I'm just worried about the back.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And congrats on the elections.
Oh, thank you. Hotly contested race. You guys, this stuff. Next item on the agenda is coastal site plan review number 143B, flood stem prevention application number 144B, also known as PL 24-155, James and Kathryn Metcalfe at 129 Nearwater Lane. The proposal to construct a new patio and steps serving the existing deck and perform related site development activities within regulated areas, including landscaping and minor regrading. The 1.92 plus minus acre subject property is located on the west side of Nearwater Lane at its intersection with Juniper Road and is shown on its assessor's map number 56 as lot 27 in the R1 residential zone. Gentlemen, what do we got?
This is a very straightforward application. The improvements, which include the new patio, are located within the AE 14 flood zone. There's a total of 628 square feet of total area of disturbance. The applicant has proposed stormwater quality features under the patio to infiltrate water. And they do intend on preserving trees, preserving all trees on the property and adding some additional landscaping and planting per the EPC approval on the application, which was issued on November 6th. The application was submitted in conformance with sections 810 and 820 of the Darien zoning regulations under coastal site plan and flood damage prevention regulations. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated September 3rd. These comments were in connection with the EPC application that was submitted for that commission's review and action. And then on October 9th, Canis submitted a second memo endorsing the project. We have Brian McMahon here this evening of Redness and Mead, the applicant's representative, to present the application and answer any questions. I would also note that Connecticut Deep submitted comments for the record dated October 24th, 24. Brian?
Thank you, Fred.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Just state your name for the record.
For the record, Brian McMahon, licensed professional engineer with Redness and Mead, here tonight on behalf of James and Kathryn Metcalfe. And at the risk of sounding redundant, I think I'll rely on Fred's description to a great extent to do the job. It's a pretty small project. I do want to make one correction to the record. Fred mentioned that there's 620 square feet of disturbance. It's actually 628 square feet of new impervious coverage associated with the patio. The disturbance is a little bit more than that, the incidental grading. We did go through the EPC process, as Fred mentioned, and they identified really three primary areas that they were concerned with. One, preserving the two really beautiful large trees on either side of the patio. And we had a couple of different letters from a licensed arborist in the record that was put in the record from EPC, and that should be in your record here. Two, EPC was interested in knowing that the patio would not impact the dynamics and of the tidal waters from Holly Pond or the base flood elevation, and that the patio and the short knee wall, about 18 inches, would withstand, in accordance with your regulations, the forces associated with the base flood. And I put a letter into the record to that effect. And then three, as Fred mentioned, it was reviewed by Ty Bond by Joe Canis. He had a handful of relatively minor comments with respect to the drainage, which we responded to his satisfaction during the EPC process. So with that, I am happy to try and answer any questions.
The only small one I have, Brian, is you said you're adding some minor stuff on your survey. You have it allowed, existing, proposed. It doesn't much matter, but the proposed column is blank. And
Yeah, actually, we're not the.
Right, you're not. Yeah,
that's coordinate that with the project surveyor. If the commission sees so fit, prior to
whatever you put it
building
in.
permit.
Right, because it's not like you have a problem.
Right.
The allowed is 20. You're at 7.1, but it's going up by the 628 square feet, whatever that's going to be.
As a realtor, when you go and pull title searches and you look at things like that, when the proposed is empty, it's very helpful to see it. So when people want to talk about what they want to do next to the house, they know where the line is. So if we can have that for the record, I think that's best.
Yes, I think that's just being conditional to put in a new survey, and that's all. So you're not doing anything else to us. It's just his little patio.
Well, the other thing we're doing is, let's see, here's the existing house hatched in. There is an elevated deck. It's the grade drops off from Nearwater towards the back, towards Holly Pond, of course. So the lawn in the back where the patio is going is roughly one level down. So the deck is elevated, and the existing stairs, which land right in the middle of the proposed deck, will be replaced. They're in really, actually, I don't know about dire need, but they're in distress. They need to be replaced regardless. And the proposal calls for the steps to be replaced right against this sort of octagonal shaped portion of the house, and it'll be go down. But other than that, structurally, there's nothing being done with the house itself.
Wait, those are wooden steps, obviously?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just taking up wood steps, putting in new wood steps. Got it. Okay. Like straightforward. And on here, these are the two trees that you have blocked off.
Correct. Very large, one sycamore and one oak apple.
Cool. Okay.
And the arborist, as you might know, not only attested to the viability of the trees, but made recommendations about caring for the root system during construction, which the plan as a contractor is committed to. I mean, they don't want to see these trees damaged. So.
Yeah, I mean, they look like twin trees, but actually, instead of goalposts, you know, take it. Thank you. Amy, anything on this one? Mike, anything?
No.
Nope. Square, George and Adam?
Nope, sounds like an improvement to me.
Yep. You're there. Would anyone in the general public like to speak to this application? Seeing none. Anything we're missing, guys?
No.
With that said, entertain a motion to close. Adam makes a motion, looking for a second. George makes a second. All in favor? Hearing closed.
Thank you.
We'll deliberate this as soon as we can and get back to John. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is coastal site plan review number 61A in Apple, flood dam prevention application number 49A in Apple, also known as PL 24-153. JHTimes Darien LLC at 1, I can never pronounce that word. Runkenhage Road. Proposal to construct, in addition to the south side of the existing single-family residence, construction of a detached car shed and configuration of the driveway and the parking court, and to perform related site development activities, including minor regrading, installation of a new septic system, and stormwater management. The 3.25 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the east side of Runkenhage Road, approximately 150 feet southeast of its intersection with Tokeneke Trail, and is shown on Assessor map number 69 as lot 29 in the R1 residential zone. Now, this house has been under construction for a little while, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What do we got, gentlemen?
This is, this is before the commission because of a replacement septic system, essentially, being installed partially within the AE 13 flood zone. The work on the house is still being considered by the commission as part of your coastal site plan review. However, it is entirely outside of the flood zone. And roughly 350 feet from mean high water. The application was submitted in conformance with sections 810 and 820 of the Darien zoning regulations under our coastal site plan and flood damage prevention regulations. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated October 15th. Redness and Mead responded to Mr. Canis's comments on the same date, October 15th, and then on October 30th, Mr. Canis submitted a final memo endorsing the project. The application was also referred out to the building official. Mike Vitti submitted comments for the record dated October 24th, noting no issue with the application. It was also referred out to the health department on October 28th. The health department noted that septic review would be required by their department, and was also referred out to Connecticut Deep. Connecticut Deep submitted comments for the record dated November 12th. Tonight, Patrick Shore of Redness Mead is here, the applicant's representative, to present the details of the application and answer your questions.
Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you.
For the boss just left.
Yeah, he did. It's easier without an audience, you know. For the record, my name is Patrick Shore. I'm a professional engineer with Redness and Mead, representing JHTimes Darien LLC. The proposal includes adding a new addition to the back of the house, reconfiguring the existing driveways to create a drive court, and then proposing a car shed, or almost a carport, that's open on the back and front and built up on a wall with open sides. During the approval, or during the review process, this was originally submitted for building permit, and so the health department has reviewed it. due to a lack of any records on the septic system, we had to go do an investigation with the health department, found the existing system was in groundwater, and that is why we're proposing a brand new code compliant system. So that'll actually have positive effects potentially on Scott Cove.
Where's the new system going?
It is down here, and it straddles the limit of the flood line right there. The new system requires no grading over it though, so we won't be changing any grades. It'll just simply be abandoning the existing system and putting this new one in place. It has, the health department, they did approve it. They've already reviewed it and issued their approval as well.
We do have that in the record, right, guys?
I'm not sure that the actual health approval has been uploaded as part of the application.
I'll upload it. I did see, it was at Penny's email, and I've been working with Mindy leading up to this, so I will upload all that documentation tomorrow. The proposed improvements result in an increase in impervious coverage of 2,800 square feet. This whole area flows out down the driveway and into Runkenhage Road, where there are known drainage issues down here. So we're proposing either a pea gravel finish or permeable pavers, and then a 1,900 square foot crushed stone reservoir right here. It's receiving over 8,800 square feet of impervious coverage. The water is going to flow under the stone surface, hit the reservoir. We're infiltrating the water quality volume, mitigating peak flows through the 50-year storm before water bubbles out of the area drain right here and flows down Runkenhage following the natural drainage path or the existing drainage path. So we're treating 3x the amount of impervious we're increasing by. So I think we're improving water quality conditions and hopefully improving some of the drainage issues on the road itself. That's everything I've got for now. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
There's enough storm sewers on Runkenhage Road, right, to take all this stuff? You're not increasing it that much, but that's what it is.
No, so we're not increasing it at all. We're reducing peak flows through the 50-year storm.
And the coverage is going up a tiny bit, you're still well below the 20%. When you abandon the old septic system, does that get filled in? You're not pulling it out, right?
No, we'll abandon. Yeah, we'll abandon in place, cap the pipes, and all per health code, the Connecticut Health Code, and it'll be inspected by the Darien Health Department as well.
And that's all on them, right, guys?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. The health department is what I mean. Okay, I got it. Any questions from the commission, George? Anything at this point?
I think I'm fine.
Mike's got something up his sleeve.
Well, I mean, you say that there's an issue on Runkenhage Road with drainage. What's the issue?
I've actually talked with the neighbor, Alan, and he said that in the winter when snow buildup occurs down here, I think it blocks the drain. And so there's been an icing condition down here at the bottom of the road. I don't know much more beyond that. I think it was mentioned when we first started the project, and then he had actually called me to describe the project to him when he got his notification letter, and mentioned it to me as well.
Down in that part of Runkenhage is pretty narrow, so it almost functions like a shared driveway.
Yeah.
And I think the area that Patrick was pointing to almost seems like if you're plowing snow, a logical place to put the snow.
Yeah. And there's a catch basin there that gets clogged up. Is that the idea?
I believe so. And even though we're not improving peak flows enough to make a meaningful impact in the road, we're not exacerbating the condition.
Okay.
So it probably just gets snow put on top of it, and they have to wait for everything to
Melt to drain down. And I guess that connects to Scott's Cove?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, that's all.
Amy?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application? Okay, seeing none. So we're building an addition on the back and wheeling a car shed, which is simple, refixing the garage and adding a new septic system, which gets signed off by somebody else. Anything I'm missing?
The driveway reconfiguration.
Right, that's the garage part.
And then a lot of, which Fred alluded to, a lot of interior renovation of the house.
It's been going on for years, right?
It's been going on for a while.
Yeah,
Ken has signed off on everything too. That's in the comments.
right. We're not, for that new driveway, we're not doing anything to any of those trees that are sitting there, right?
No, we're maintaining the two trees that are currently in the center of it.
Okay, sounds makes sense. All right, with that said, entertain a motion to close. Amy makes a motion. Adam makes a second. All in favor? Hearing's closed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Let's say hi to Craig Clarity since he didn't show up tonight.
I will.
All right, next item on the agenda is flood prevention application number 449, land filling regrading application number 578, also known as PL 24-148, 18 Tokeneke Trail LLC at 8 Tokeneke Trail. Proposal to construct a new driveway from the existing curb cut on Cross Road to the existing house at 18 Tokeneke Trail and perform related site development activities within a regulated area, including the regrading of the property, installation of a new septic system, and stormwater management. The 5.34 plus or minus acres subject property is located on the north side of Tokeneke Trail at its intersection with Runkenhage Road and is shown on Assessor's map number 69 as lot 25 in the R1 residential zone. George?
Yes, recusing myself, given Attorney Zabatek is present.
Fantastic. George Riley, let the record show, recuse himself in this application.
Yes,
So we have 4 commissioners sitting, we have a quorum. All right, gentlemen, what do we got?
This application is tied very closely to the next application the commission will hear as well for 13 Cross Road, directly adjacent parcels. This application is simply to install a new driveway in the AE 13 zone, install a new septic system, stormwater management. There's no landscaping changes proposed as part of the new driveway. The application was submitted in conformance with sections 820 and 850 of the Darien zoning regulations under flood damage prevention and land filling regrading regulations. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated October 30th. We received a response from the applicant's engineer, Tom Nelson of McCord Engineering today, which have been uploaded to the application and forwarded to commission members this afternoon. The application was also referred out to the health department. The health department actually did issue final septic approval on October 16th. Also note that staff did waive CAM review on this application. We sent a letter dated October 22nd to the applicant waiving that review. And you all noticed today that a comment from the neighbor at 17 Tokeneke Trail came in under Rucci Law Group and Amy Zabatakis's office. So that neighbor comment has been included as part of the record and was also forwarded to commission members this afternoon. Tonight we have Robert Maslin here of Maslin Associates, the applicant's attorney and representative, to present the details of the application and answer the questions.
Thank you, Fred. Appreciate that. Mr. Maslin, whenever you're ready,
I am.
state your name for the record and everything you know what we're going to do.
Just plug in the power so I don't end up stuck in the middle with no power. Okay. The team here, I'm Robert Maslin representing the applicant, which is 13, oops, I got the wrong plan up. Hold on. It's actually 18.
You're on the next one. That's
I'm on the
49.
next one, yeah.
We're doing 48 right now.
All right, here we go. From beginning. How's that? Okay. So this evening, we have Belinda Metzger and Nancy Gramps. They are the sisters in the back there. Where'd they go? There they
Got it.
are. They are descendants of the owners of this property way back 100 years ago.
So
And
they're
they
Tokeneke
are
Trail LLC?
18 Tokeneke Trail LLC.
Okay.
They're
Thanks.
the principals of it. They are also involved in 13 Cross Road, which is the next application, and a third parcel, which is 16 Tokeneke Trail, which is the vacant lot between 18 Tokeneke Trail and 13 Cross Road. That vacant lot, in its new configuration, will be transferred to the Darien Land Trust to remain in its open and natural state in perpetuity. So here's our overview. Whoops. The purpose of this application is to recreate an entrance drive that is similar in location to an entrance drive to the main house at Round Meadows that existed back in the 30s, 40s, and I think it was removed sometime in the 1950s as the properties surrounded were subdivided. The overall goal here is to update the main house, which is underway now, install a new septic system for that house as a standalone system. I'll explain that, how that works in a minute when I get to the maps. And to build a new house on the corner of Cross Road and Tokeneke Trail. So for this application, because a portion of the driveway is located within flood zone AE at elevation 13, we need a flood damage prevention permit. And to the extent necessary, and I don't think it's really necessary because the amount of filling involved here is just minor finish grade in order to install the driveway at grade. We're also proposing as part of this application a water quality system to deal with runoff in the new portion of the driveway. So here's the existing layout. This is an aerial from, as you can see, the town GIS map. The current, hopefully you can pick me up here, the current configuration of 18 Tokeneke Trail is here, but the modification is going to be such that the boundary is going to come out a little bit in this direction and then back so that this driveway will be completely within the resulting confines of 18 Tokeneke Trail. The old carriage house on the corner is knocked down. It's going to be rebuilt. That's the next application. That'll have its own standalone lot. This piece from here over is an easement area that was created by John Oldrin as he divided these properties up. It's the location of a septic system that serves, we believe, two of these houses. This one and this one, and I think the predecessor to this house, which was actually like a gardener's quarters and nursery type setup. And that was allowed because it's now 100 years old. That's going to be abandoned. And the agreement whereby Mr. Oldrin, or maybe it was Ginny, sold this lot at 17 Cross Road was to convey an exclusive easement to 17 Cross Road. But when that septic system is abandoned, no longer used, then the fee is going to go to 17. We're in that process right now. So that's the overall layout. You may hear it again, but I guess I have to make two records. I found a 1934 aerial photograph. In case you're wondering about this driveway, this is what it looked like in 1934. The main house is here at 18 Tokeneke Trail. This is what 17 looked like, 17 Cross Road. And the carriage house is over here in the corner. And that driveway curb cut is still where it is today, it's still there. So the idea is to recreate this driveway, although it's going to be a little bit farther to the west in order to preserve a larger open field off to the right.
And that's the field you're talking about given to the land trust?
This piece down here. Let me get my bearings here. Yes, this here is, it's not, the boundaries aren't here, but that's the
Right,
part
right.
that's going to the land trust.
You want to give 16 Tokeneke Trail lot to the land trust, is that what you
Correct.
said? Okay.
Right, it's roughly maybe a little bit under 2 acres.
Okay.
And you can see what it looks like today, well, when this aerial was taken, 2019, carriage house. This is pretty much the current layout of 17, and this is the current layout of 18 Tokeneke Trail, and you can see this is all natural space.
Yep.
Bob, can you go back to the previous map? So is that, sorry, just to the north of the blue highlighted area, is that what's being donated to the land trust?
Okay, which way?
All the trees,
Up.
yeah,
What lot is up?
to the right.
What lot is
And
that?
to the right.
To the right.
What's being donated to the land trust? Just-
Mark? Right there.
What is
That-
I'm
it?
asking the question, what's being donated to the land trust?
On this map, what's being donated on this map to the land
Oh.
trust?
This, but the lot lines are going to be reconfigured a
Okay.
little bit.
What lot is the driveway going on?
The north side.
It'll be the resulting 18 Tokeneke Trail, so it's going to come out
So is 18, is the 18, is
roughly in
that,
this, like, you'll see on a.
is that lot part of 18 right now?
No, we're reconfiguring boundaries to get there.
So what lot is that now?
This is now part of 13,
I see.
Cross Road.
And is 13 going to share the curb cut?
No,
Yeah.
it'll have its own curb cut.
That's what.
So it's you're kind of sort of even changing the address of the house from 18 to...
That, we haven't gotten that far yet. The tax ID, tax lots are going to stay the same. The
Right.
addresses are going to remain with the same tax lots.
Jeremy, is this a lot line revision or subdivision?
It's a lot line revision, because they're not creating any new lots. But there are now 3 lots, there will still be 3 lots, but they're doing a little land swap and reconfiguration. I looked at the map earlier today with Bob, and it's just as he described.
Okay.
Yeah, I've given Jeremy the whole history of it and documented it all. Okay. Photo tour, this is the entrance. The stone walls will remain the same. The driveway will enter here, but it's going to veer off to the right. And this part that goes over to the carriage house will be removed.
How are you getting to the carriage house?
This is another view as you start to enter the property. A little bit to the left of the driveway is where the new driveways are going
Carriage
to
house
be
is not
located.
down. That's going to be the next application.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
They're going to put another.
As we turn a little bit to the right here, you see some of the trees that are planted. They're pretty much along the boundary line. None of that's changing. Those trees are going to remain undisturbed. And this is a close-up. If you could see through the trees, you'd see the house at 17 Cross Road. They're staying. So here's a survey. And as you can see, the old driveway comes in here. The new one kind of winds its way around. And you can see these new boundaries clearly on this survey. These are the resulting boundaries. This map does not show the portion that's being conveyed over to the 17 Cross Road property. And you may be wondering why this is zigging, zagging so much. The idea is to leave control of the open field portion of this layout to the property owners so that they'd be able to mow it without relying on the land trust to do it. And that would ensure that it stays as kind of a flat, open space meadow.
This is the proposed re-layout of it?
This is, yes, and this is the site plan version.
Can you go back one
Sure.
slide, please? So just to get my bearings, I know the next application that we're gonna see uses the current driveway right now, right? That's how the next application we're gonna see, they use that. To the extent that they don't get approval from a new curb cut from the association.
We already did.
You already did,
Yes.
got it, never mind. Fast forward, thank you.
We try to stay on top of things. Okay,
Got it.
where's, come on up, you're up. Tom Nelson's here, he'll talk about the site plan. So I'll work this if you want to point out.
Sure.
Can the microphone pick this up?
Yes, it
If
can.
he talks, okay.
For the record, Tom Nelson, professional engineer with McCord Engineering. Our office prepared the site development plan. Just in case you guys weren't already mixed up, I rotated my plan and put a brake line in it, so I apologize in advance. But just to get you back oriented, here's Cross Road here. This is the brake line that connects to that, and then Tokeneke Trail up this side. So this is the existing residence that we're not touching. And in gray, you'll see the proposed driveway. The proposed driveway is about 480 feet long, 14 feet wide. It is going to be constructed out of oil and stone, which matches the existing driveways on the majority of this parcel and also the 13 Cross Road parcel. We have located the driveway to preserve there's a lot of mature trees on this lot. That was very important to the owners that we preserve those. So we're really not touching any mature trees with the location of this driveway. And we also located the driveway to minimize the amount of earthwork. We're trying to follow the existing grade down there and not create any new cuts or fills. It's just not necessary.
When you said oil and stone, is that macadam?
Yeah, it's essentially what macadam, let's see.
That.
Yep, there we go. So it's not a permeable surface. I'm not representing that, but it's essentially, stone chips are used to kind of mimic that kind of gravel surface, but it's not, it doesn't migrate, it doesn't infiltrate, it's just sort of a visual.
Because you basically have a driveway, then you roll hot oil on it, you roll the stones on top to look like gravel, but they don't wash around.
Right.
I mean, you can put a layer on top that makes it feel like it's loose, but the whole thing isn't like a gravel driveway that can get washed away.
Right, it's also not like a parking lot, which is where you're playing basketball.
No.
Correct.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
She was in construction, her dad.
I appreciate it.
Pittsburgh, a zillion years ago.
You know how to run a PowerPoint?
No.
So the drainage, there's an existing drainage system for the existing driveway that is partially working, partially not. So we are proposing to rehabilitate that, basically rehabilitating the existing drains that are there and proposing a new underground detention system just to handle this existing driveway surface. The new driveway will be curbed. The new driveway will also be captured by driveway drains and brought to a new underground detention system located out near Cross Road. That new system consists of 96 linear feet of 24-inch by 48-inch concrete galleries. It's designed for the water quality volume, which is now the first 1.3 inches of runoff that flows to that system.
And that system's highlighted in red?
Yes, that's highlighted in red. So this is the system for the new driveway, and this is the system for the existing driveway. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we're trying to minimize earthwork here. We're sort of preserving the existing drainage patterns. So what we have on this site is the existing high point where the main residence is flowing down to this area, which is a low point, and similarly off Cross Road, we have a very subtle high point that also flows to this low area. And there is a low area that sort of runs through the middle of this field that is, just a historical low spot. The property to our west is higher. The yard on number 17 Crossroad is higher, so this water just is trapped here. After an extreme rain event, we do see some ponding in this location. We're not, it doesn't last very long, the soils there are pretty good. Eventually that water will infiltrate and it doesn't stay soggy, it's not wetlands. So effectively, we are just proposing to keep that condition as is. That low point will remain a low point, driveway will circumvene it, but
If you were in control of all of that land, have you considered a slight regrading to try to mitigate some of that?
I think, in my opinion, if I regrade it, then now I'm pushing that water onto somebody else.
But that's somebody else. Aren't they all owners of the?
Well, we're not somebody else, yes, but I think this is, as I said, it's sort of been the historical area where that water goes. It doesn't seem to be causing much impact other than minor ponding after a big storm. I think that to us is probably the best way to keep it rather than trying to pipe it to someplace else. This is kind of the lowest point of this whole, former estate.
The street's low too.
Right, the street is low.
Crossroad.
I mean, as you're familiar with Tokeneke, there is a lot of these, undulations, a lot of these low spots. Agreed, if there was a good place to put it where I wouldn't be impacting somebody else, we certainly would have looked into that, but we sort of felt that.
So the Coltech that you determined was just based on the square footage of the new driveway?
Exactly, the detention system is just for water quality purposes.
Just for the new drive
Right.
surface? Okay.
Can the water that ponds, does it ever grow to the west?
No, it actually, once it fills, I believe it overflows towards Crossroad to the north.
The flood, when the flood comes in, it comes in from the, what is it?
From the
South?
west.
Yeah, there's the coastal A zone boundary there, isn't it? The minimal wave activity?
Yeah, so the flood, if the flood waters from Long Island Sound actually move in,
But the ponding is coming from stormwater, not
Right,
floodwaters?
yes, exactly. The local ponding after a storm event is coming from runoff from the properties.
Which is the other side?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's essentially a low area that kind of comes through here and then just accumulates in that spot.
So the one thing I'm a little confused with, you keep saying the existing driveway. The existing driveway, right, it's there, but we're talking, it starts here, right?
That's cut off.
It starts here and then connects to where?
The former driveway on 13 Cross, where that, are you referring to where the entrance will be?
You got a cut section at the end of that.
Right, so if you go
I'm going
to,
to go back to the other slide.
Sure.
if you go to the Seymour one,
You're looking at this one?
I'm looking at Seymour, yeah.
Yeah.
See where the existing driveway comes in? And then it fades into into
Yeah.
13 Crossroads?
Right. This one here.
Correct, and then
Yeah.
where does it connect again?
So this currently
Go away.
serves, here we go. So this is this driveway here, serving the former carriage house at 13 Cross Road. So this is that driveway, and then it kind of doubles back on itself to a large courtyard.
That's where the
They're
new
getting
house is gonna go,
Right.
and that way yeah.
So there's no driveway across that existing meadow today that?
There is no, historically there was, currently there is not a driveway. So that driveway sort of follows this path through the meadow, up between these large trees.
Down a little farther.
I'm sorry. Through the meadow, we're gonna stay on our property, and then through these large trees connecting into this.
Right, so you're calling that piece of meadow, in 1934 it was there, okay.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about that underground connection there, in case they're wondering.
What's that?
The 3 pipes.
Oh, sure, yeah, so we did install, and this was a question that Joe Canis had asked us in his review of the parcel, was what's going on with these under drains. So I've essentially just created an under drain, which is sort of a below grade perforated pipe surrounded by gravel. And really the only purpose of this is to allow conveyance of that water through this low area. So I just wanted to make sure that this new driveway didn't serve as sort of a dam. I'm just sort of trying to preserve those existing drainage patterns. They don't connect to anything else other than themselves, just spanning the driveway itself.
Just to equalize groundwater.
Right.
So now, in the instance of a storm, will that driveway be underwater?
Certainly in a large flood event, we're in the flood zone, we'll be underwater, and, in an extreme storm event, there is a chance we could also be underwater. This driveway will be lower than the surrounding grade. But I don't think the driveway will be impacted by, the short-term ponding. I don't think the driveway itself will impact the ponding in the area. I think we basically maintain the existing conditions there.
Okay, and we're never closing the other driveway that's on Tokeneke Trail, is that right?
Right. This will stay here, this will always be high and dry.
Okay, I just don't want
We don't want to
post
create...
53 truck going in for the lady's got a heart attack going through.
Yes,
the
no,
driveway
that's
that's
a
underwater.
good point, yes. So this sort of stays as sort of the alternate, rear entry, gets access to the garage, and will always be outside of the, or above the flood zone.
Okay.
Where's the old septic that you're abandoning?
The old septic is here, in the low area of the property, believe it or not, which is, I guess, maybe testament to the fact that those soils are decent, and that ponding hasn't, historically done too much damage. But yeah, this was the old septic field. I think that as-built dated back to the mid-20s. And that septic system served both the main house and the carriage house at 13 Cross.
And that's being abandoned?
That's being abandoned.
And cut off from the house to the west?
Yes, so the new 13 Cross, getting ahead of ourselves, has already been demoed very recently, and then this is the new septic, which is under separate permit that's been approved for replacement of 18 Tokeneke.
So that old septic is still being used today?
Nothing's connected to it.
Nothing's connected.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah,
It's not in use now. It's just an old one that's there.
I mean, up to very recently it was, but yeah, at this point in time, there's nothing connected
It's been
to it.
disconnected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if if it was used, doesn't a septic system work on gravity? So if that's a low point,
Yeah, exactly.
that's a long run to go from the house all the way out to Cross Road.
No, it was a lot of clay tile back in the day. So yeah, this came down to a tank and siphon chamber that then directed out to these. It was I think over 1,000 feet of terracotta pipe trenches out there.
But it's all being abandoned, so we'll look here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody asked before about what piece is going to be transferred to 17. It's this area here. And that's 6.66 acres, plus or minus.
It's being transferred to 17 Cross Road.
Cross Road.
Okay.
So previously it was an easement, and now it's being...
Previously, yeah, it was really unusual. They had 18 Tokeneke Trail and 13 Cross Road had a septic easement to use it, but one of the deeds had a condition in it, well, actually, it was an agreement that said when it's no longer being used, then it gets transferred over to 17.
To 17 and fee.
But right, all along, they had an exclusive right to use it, except for the septic.
Where's the tax lot line today? Is that land on 17 or is it on?
Tax lot line?
Yeah. So that whole, there it says right there.
Yeah.
EX
I'll show
easement
you.
area. So that whole easement area is getting transferred to 17 and fee.
Yep.
And they don't have to buy it. They get it for $1.
It's already paid for.
Yeah. Right.
Because that was the deal when they bought the property. This is the tax boundaries.
Yep.
Overlaid on the GIS, and this is 13. And the new line is going to be here. So the tax boundary is going to end up here.
Just make sure its assessment doesn't go up.
Anything else?
No, you can actually, because it's an easement and it's unusable, you may get an exemption from it.
No, it's not an
It's not
easement.
an
It's going
easement anymore.
It's going to a fee.
Yeah, it's just excess acreage.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
I think that was pretty much it on the engineering side.
So I think Jeremy or Fred mentioned no CAM is necessary. The peer review, we got the letter from Joe Canis, and we submitted a response letter. And what I did was I took the letter, put the entire letter in with the attachments, and I pulled out the DCIA form and the flood construction contingency plan, and then uploaded them again as separate items. And Tom talked about the under drainage system. Did you have anything else to add about Joe's comment to that?
No, I think that's it.
About the flows, okay.
Just go over the new septic system again, because that's got to be all signed off by the health department too, right?
It's already signed off.
Okay, and we abandoned the old system that's there today?
That's part of, yes.
You're just filling in that?
I'm not sure anything needs to be done with the tiles, it's the tanks.
Yeah,
that have
the
to be-
tanks, the septic tank and the old siphon chamber will be crushed and filled in, and then the clay tile pipes, because that's just really a 4-inch terracotta pipe. I mean, we will essentially just leave that in place. There's not really any risk to leaving that as is.
When that all gets signed off by the health department, whatever they want to do, okay. Okay, I'm sorry, I cut you off, bro.
We don't need to have an application.
I spoke with Rick Talamelli a while back, and we're okay with wetlands. There are wetlands, I'll talk about that in the next application.
Okay. Anything else, guys? No? Amy?
No, I think I've got my questions so far. Details that I'm curious as to hearing some feedback about the ponding. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Good for me.
Good for me.
We did receive a letter from Amy Zabatakis, attorney for the owner of 17 Cross Road.
Is that the one dated November 12th?
Well, that's one that she submitted today, but she sent me a similar letter last week, and she and I had a discussion about a few things in it.
Well, why don't we hear from her,
Why
then you
don't
can
we- okay.
respond.
Because we can-
I know she's here.
Yeah, she's here.
Okay. Open up, anybody in the general public to speak to this application?
I'm Rob Roberto. I live at 2
Please come up, Rob.
Sure. I live at 2 Homewood Lane, and which is just north of both properties. And the only thing I wanted to understand was, why are you changing the driveway? Is it just because there's going to be more land for 13 Cross Road? Just wondering why you're changing the driveway if it goes all the way back. Is that to...
I'll answer your question when you're...
You direct the question, direct to us, and then we'll ask him. That's how it works.
I'm sorry?
Say direct the question to us, and then we'll ask the applicant, or if I can try to answer the question.
I direct the question to you.
So you want
Why are
to...
you moving the driveway at all?
They're installing a brand-new driveway to the existing house at Tokeneke Trail.
Okay.
Right?
That driveway doesn't go all the way back to the house?
No.
Presently?
Right now, that entrance door that comes in now, those gates,
Yes.
goes to 13.
It just goes to 13?
Yeah, it does not go
Okay.
to, it doesn't go to 18 at all.
Great. I'm really here about 13 Cross. That's what I was interested in. I was just wondering, because I actually thought that driveway went all the way out.
Yeah, no, I asked
Thank
that
you.
question
Takes a
too.
hard left.
I missed that then.
Yeah, and that driveway's gonna be abandoned through 13. They're gonna get a new
Right.
curb
Got
cut
it.
for 13.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak to this? I see Ms. Zabatakis in the audience. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. Amy Zabatakis, Rucci Law Group, represent the owner of 17 Cross. Suzanne Hooper is here as well in the back. So I think, the question that was just asked, and I think the commission had some questions about this as well, is why this driveway is needed. There is a driveway to Tokeneke Trail. If they want a circular driveway, could have another curb cut onto Tokeneke Trail. This driveway, while perhaps there was something there in the 1930s, as was stated, has not been there for a very long time, and we have a very low meadow that ponds. So, in the first instance, my client really just doesn't understand why there is a desire to put a driveway closer to her property than the 1930s driveway was, and going straight through this beautiful meadow. The meadow does pond. It's not a floodwater event. It ponds when there's heavy rainstorms. And, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to build a driveway that will be underwater at times. And my client is understandably concerned that putting this new impervious surface through an area that we already know floods and ponds will cause additional problems for her property. One of the things that we did ask the commission, and I asked the applicant, and I submitted a letter to the commission as well with an engineer's report. And as you heard, the stormwater retention that they've proposed is for water quality runoff. It is to treat the water and let it go back out. It's not a retention system. One option would be to increase the size of those galleries so that they would actually retain water. And improve the ponding in that area and make sure that there isn't any new flow onto 17 Cross. That's something we'd like to see done. That could be also helped by installing berms that would direct water into the infiltration. I think that would be a huge help. Because the water is definitely the biggest concern. And like I said, it starts with why do this at all, but if we're going to do it, let's not build a road that we're admitting is going to be underwater. Some of the other issues that we had discussed, as Attorney Maslin mentioned, I did try to reach out to him on Friday so that we had a chance to talk before tonight's hearing, and I was pleased to hear that the trees are going to remain. I would ask that if the commission approved this, that be a condition of approval. Also that there not be any stone walls. That obviously would exacerbate the water situation, also just break up, again, the visual of this beautiful meadow. My client is really concerned about the visual of what's cutting through this meadow. Would love to see this not have Belgian block on the sides, to look as much like a gravel driveway. If they're trying to recreate this 1930s driveway, then it wouldn't have Belgian block along the sides. The other thing that we had asked was that there not be any lighting in the area and on the driveway. When I spoke with Attorney Maslin, he said that wasn't the plan, but he did indicate to me that they're not prepared to say that there would never be lighting. I would ask that be a condition of approval, that there not be lighting on the driveway if the commission were to move forward with this. But like I said, I'm saying those things because I don't want to have to stand up multiple times, but really our position is that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put this driveway in at all.
Okay.
Are there any questions for me?
So my fellow at his house, he's got those solar lights that he bought at Home Depot. It sticks in front of it. It's stuck on his front stoop because he's blind in one eye, which is true, Papa. Is that you don't want any of that stuff either?
Well, again, right now we have this meadow, so to put lights through it, and again, those low solar lights would be underwater if there was ponding. So that probably wouldn't be very safe or practical. So if anyone's going to light it, they're going to put much larger lighting in there, and that's what we would like to not see.
So you want to say no lighting over 24 inches tall?
We'd like to see no lighting at all. I guess I'm saying to answer your question, I don't think anyone would put those low solar lights in because they'd be underwater. Yeah. So we would like to say no lighting at all.
Okay. And then I guess we can ask the applicant again with regard to the driveway. I didn't technically see the Belgian block thing, but I'm envisioning a driveway the same exact one that kind of sort of goes into Great Island. That looks to me like a 1930s driveway. Is that more of what you're seeing like that?
I can't say that I've paid enough attention to the Great Island driveway to answer that. I feel like I should, but
everybody else in the town has. Good.
I think really it's if you look at the 1930s picture, it was a gravel driveway. Now I understand maybe there's some ways to do it so that it's not gravel that's going to fly off of the road, but having this severe Belgian block curve is something my client would like to see avoided.
Great, and you heard the engineer there, he's back here. Because I guess 17 is elevated, the water can't flow uphill. Has it ever gone remotely close at all to 17, to your knowledge?
It has. yes, I mean, those are really the extreme events, but that whole area, I mean, I submitted some photos with the letter, and that's not an uncommon event to have that whole area underwater. And I think, realistically, I don't think anyone's thinking that the water is going to be reducing anytime in the future. So, the concern is that, 17 is in the flood zone. It's below the flood zone, and we don't want to see the water, it's already in her yard. We certainly don't want to see it going into her house, and it has. Those are the really extreme events, though, admittedly, not every storm.
Right, because, as a matter of course, our policy is that any water that's on your land stays on your land. So, they can have a swimming pool as long as it doesn't go off onto your side.
Right.
That's the thing I'm most concerned about. But you're also now, looks like your client's getting, I don't know, is that a quarter of an acre they're getting added to their farm?
They're not really getting, so the way that the property is now, that land was purchased by 17, but couldn't be deeded to 17 because of the septic system. So the agreement was, there was an easement, an exclusive easement for 17 over that land. 17 pays the taxes on that land currently. Okay. And then the agreement was, once the septic was no longer needed, it would be deeded to her in full. So she's not getting anything that she doesn't already have.
Okay, so I'm just like, who cuts that grass on that land now?
My client.
Okay.
She's responsible for maintaining that area.
I get it. So they're just they've been maintaining it for years. They're just getting the fee and they're already paying taxes on it. I got it. Okay. All right, fantastic. We typically don't question respondents, but does anybody have questions for Amy?
The only question I have is, Attorney Maslin showed a picture of the entry to the driveway. The ponding pictures that you're showing in your letter, can you give me a reference point as to where that driveway would be in relation to this pond?
In the photos that I submitted, what the driveway that you see in the rear of those photos is the driveway going to 13. So 13, the driveway to 13 now comes in through those gates and takes a relatively sharp turn to the east. Okay. So it's basically between, it's basically, honestly, it is the land where this driveway is going through. Not right at the entrance to Cross Road. It's, maybe, 30 feet in or so. I'm kind of guessing, don't quote me on that. I'm not an engineer, but it's basically that whole strip of land. And as Mr. Nelson pointed out, that's the low point, right where that driveway is going straight through.
That is true.
That's going to be abandoned, that driveway.
So that house that's in your first picture, that is that the 13 cottage?
Correct. That's no longer there.
This house here?
Yes.
Okay. And so that's the driveway.
So the driveway's going to come up this way, the new driveway.
No, that driveway's going to, that's the left. The driveway's
Correct,
going to come right at us.
abandoned.
It's going to come this way.
No, that one's being abandoned.
Basically straight through the pond. It would be going from, it's going from left to right across the photo.
This is the parking area for this house.
Left to right across the photo.
The driveway towards.
Or right to left, it doesn't matter, both across the photo.
Yep, and then it's going to come at us into the picture.
No. I'm saying
there's four people talking. You're saying left to right. He's saying north to south.
No, across the photo, because you're looking at 13, so it's going to go across the photo.
So it's going this way.
Yeah.
Yep, got it. Okay, thank you.
Not exactly, obviously, but basically.
Yeah. The street where the curb cut is over here.
Yep, got it. I understand that. Thank you.
Is the driveway going to be in front of that tree on the left or behind it?
13's here.
Yeah. This tree.
Let me see, I have some other.
It's be behind it.
Bob, can I put up your photos of the?
Yeah, let me see if I can.
It's going to be behind
I have some
it's
other
coming in
photos.
from the driveway up.
But it's going like this, up that way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be coming like this.
Yeah.
That's the original 13?
It's more helpful. Bob, you had the pictures going into the property. Let's see if I have it. I have them.
It's the entry gate. It's what it is. Tell us.
you're looking at the parking court here, right, that's, you're just looking this way. The thing is, from
They're
right at
looking,
us.
that picture's taken from over here looking this way. This driveway's gonna go up that way.
That way, to the right.
No, right straight.
Right straight through here.
Yeah, that's what I meant, to the
Yeah,
right.
so that ponding is happening here.
Right there,
Yeah.
yeah, but we're looking the other way at it.
We're looking this way at it in that picture.
I think we're looking from the back perspective straight.
No, you see that parking cart there is when this turns around and goes back in there.
Oh, wait, there you go. Or is that you?
No, that's you.
Either way, somewhere in that picture.
Driveway's under the water.
Yep.
I mean, he's the engineer said that the driveway's gonna under the water.
Yeah, but they have another access.
Correct, yeah. They got him.
Maybe he's a mud enthusiast.
They're allowed to be.
Let's try this.
They own the land, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't know why it's not
Yeah,
showing
let's
up
do
on there.
this.
I just wanna make sure that we're all on the same page.
Do you want us to try to pull up some more photos, or do you, because unfortunately, the photos I have aren't part of the record, so I'd have to.
This is part of the record.
Those are, I have some other photos that they staked out. If you go to the property now, you can see they staked out where the driveway is going to
Well,
go.
if you've got photos, you can
Yeah.
submit them for the record.
Okay.
Email them right now.
Or just
Yeah.
put them up
Fred
on the
has
screen.
Darien,
Do you have a
PCC.com.
I mean, a HDMI?
No.
Why did this thing?
Email them to Bob, he'll pull them up for you.
There's one in the back.
Hey, you got Bob's email address? Send it there.
I closed it, that's the problem.
Close your.
That might be going too far.
Send it to you, you send it in.
I'm just gonna start it over again. Go ahead, you can keep talking.
Let me see if I can- oh, see if I can get one.
That's the same problem. You need an HDMI port button.
Technology's great when it's working right.
Let's see if that works.
We're getting there.
Are you still plugged into it?
I'm just turning it. What's that? You need this?
I'm going to try to see if I can make
So you
mine.
can plug it in.
Hey, Fred, take this one. We're breaking your action.
Restroom break?
Okay.
You got it.
Oh, that
You got a
is
lot of
really
wood
small.
chops, dude.
There it is.
Okay, let's see.
Wow.
There we go.
That is not helpful at all.
It's a tree.
Oh, there we go.
It's a pretty-
Okay,
it's a pretty
so,
Okay,
see those two stakes in the middle of this photo?
yes.
Yep.
That is, those two stakes are the driveway.
That's the width of the driveway.
That's
So
the
it's
width of the
14.
driveway.
And that's the old driveway in the background.
That's the old driveway in the background, the driveway to 13. To the left of the photo is the screening that Attorney Maslin showed you between, that's near the house at 17. So you can see, the reason I picked this one is you can see some of the trees that were, I think the tree that's in this photo was in the photo that I showed you before.
That's this little tree here, right?
That tree in that photo looks like it's dead.
That's winter.
This was just from last week, I don't think
Okay,
it's dead.
but it's also
just-
overhanging the driveway. So how's my
That
car
might
It's
get?
not,
perspective.
that's perspective, the driveway's further
Yes.
away than that, it doesn't, that tree's gonna be okay.
Okay, I just don't want, from where I'm staring at, it looks like
Yeah.
I'm driving underneath the tree.
I didn't make, this photo was
That's
not
okay.
taken for this purpose, I'm just trying to orient us a little
Yeah,
bit.
I'm with you.
I was just trying to show where the driveway is.
But Amy, is a stake in the back? Is there another stake behind that?
Yeah, so.
You can point to it
you
on,
can
point to it on the screen if you
It's
need.
the angle.
Yeah, you can
of
kind of see it. It's going to curve at us.
Right,
Yeah.
that's,
Right there.
that's the driveway. And then there's stakes over here that mark where the property line is. But the property line is, if you can see right here,
That's-
that's that stone entrance.
Yep,
So the driveway kind of swoops a little bit.
Okay.
okay.
So that's a stone pillar, that's not the 13 house?
No, that's the stone pillar. 13 is now gone, so you don't see the 13 house in these photos.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It comes at you.
In
No, I think
this,
it's going across here, Adam.
in this picture here, what's that? What's that?
yours is black and white. That's
Here it is.
13. Yeah, that's the house at 13.
Which is now
Which is
gone.
now
is
no
what you're
longer
saying.
there.
Right.
Really confused.
Sorry, okay, so
And where's the road in this one?
in that one, the road is to your
Where's
left.
Cross Road?
The road is on the left-hand side of the photo. It's out, not in the photo, it's to the left.
Okay.
That photo is looking from my client's backyard. In this photo, I'm actually probably trespassing a little bit. I'm probably on 18 Tokeneke in the photo that is on the screen right now.
So these two driveways here are going into the 13 house, which is now
Correct.
gone. All right.
Correct.
I-
Because the driveway to 13 currently goes around and then creates a courtyard.
You're looking back at Cross Road there.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
All right, now,
This one.
now if we were going to put berms in, where do you want these berms?
Well, the berms would go on the, again, not large berms, but they would go on the sides of the driveway to direct the runoff from the driveway into the stormwater retention system. If you don't increase the size of the stormwater retention system, I'm not sure that the berms will actually be of much use. But the idea is to collect, rather than just treat and release, which is the current plan, which is, water quality, would be to actually collect and hold water.
It looks like this whole area is a stormwater retention system.
Right, exactly. It looks like it's
Well,
a retention
you
pond.
can't
It's a
retain-
natural one.
Yeah. Again, I'm trying to prevent the road itself from pushing more water onto 17 because if that road is even slightly up higher than the current situation, it's going to push the water, some of the water towards 13, but some of the water towards 17.
Okay, and
And I think, but Attorney Nutter, to your point, that's sort of the question, is why are we putting a road through basically a stormwater
Why
basin?
does anyone build anything, right?
yeah, I mean, you're allowed to. They can
Right.
build, if they want to put a road in and it's legal and they got a curb cut, they can do it. The curb cut exists today. If I want to blacktop my front yard, I can blacktop my front yard. If it's a dumb idea, it's a dumb idea, but you're allowed to. In 16 Tokeneke Trail, and I apologize for bouncing around, but 16 Tokeneke Trail is being donated to the land trust?
Correct.
Yes.
What's happening to 13 Tokeneke Trail?
That's the next
The
application.
next application.
So we're eventually going to build on it.
Cross.
Sorry,
13
Cross.
We're eventually going to build on it. Okay.
That's the one, that's the next application.
Okay, because I want to be able to flow the water away from 17, from 17 towards 16 Tokeneke Trail, but you have 13 Cross in the way.
Well, we can talk about that in a minute.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Okay, thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
And just for the record, I'm going to email that photo that I just showed to Fred and Jeremy now.
Email whatever photos you want. Yeah, send them all.
Sorry, I did that.
Anybody else want to speak to this application?
No signal.
Okay. Attorney Maslin,
Yes, sir.
the neighbor is requesting some kind of berm. Let's do the lighting first. Is there any intention on lighting this thing or putting up stone walls or pillars or whatnot for that thing?
Let me give Amy back her patch cord. Oh, here we are. Okay. Somebody asked a question, if I can go back to before I forget, the other neighbor that spoke asked why the driveway is being put in here and what's happening. The overall goal here is to preserve the current status of this as a house at 18 Tokeneke Trail, a house at 13 Cross Road, 16 Cross Road remaining in its natural condition to go to the land trust, and the road that'll go, the new entrance drive from Cross Road to the main house will be there as well. The ultimate goal is to set this area up so that you can't build any more houses. And if that answers your question, that's the reason. The sisters, Belinda and Nancy, have been, well, they're descendants of the original owners back 100 years ago, and they want to keep it that way. They wrote a book.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 5-acre lot for 1 acre.
The story of Round Meadows. They put a lot of effort into this, and they want to just keep it as 2 houses with a meadow in the middle and vacant parcel going to the land trust.
Yeah, I mean, the two lots together are like 8 acres, or.
Oh, there's a lot of acreage here.
I'm adding 5.34 and
Yep.
2.47, so that's 8
The land
acres.
trust is just under 2 acres. It's a 1 acre zone, so you
I know, you can build 10 houses there.
build a few houses here.
10, but, yeah.
6.
Okay, so one of the, Tom can talk about the drainage questions and all, but
Let's do the little stuff first. The lights, what do you?
lights,
what do you
no
care
plan
about?
for the lights, but I really don't think it's appropriate. I mean, it's not Connecticut Turnpike lights. I don't think anybody would ever put those in. If anything, there'd be little pedestals,
Right.
but not now. No, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've ever prohibited lights in
I don't think so
perpetuity
either.
some of
On
these-
docks maybe, but not on driveways. And then the only other thing is, if you think about these posts, I don't think there'd be anything offensive to putting a couple of little lights on top of those.
The penny glass
Which
wire,
are, those are nice
burning
accent features.
gas lamps.
So, but that's the plan. I mean, like I said, the sisters are really interested more in preserving this area than,
Do we have a tear sheet of what the driveway's gonna look like, be made of?
did you put the specs in?
No, but it is, I don't think I have a cross-section of the driveway.
I mean, is it Belgian block? Does it look like the entrance to
Driveway
the?
drain?
No, I don't have any details of the driveway itself, but yeah, it would be your traditional Belgian block curbing, 4 inches high, I think, yep. Yeah, the driveway itself, again, we're trying to sort of mimic that existing oil and stone look, and then the Belgian block is your traditional, we see it on most of the properties we put driveways on in Darien. It's that 4-inch high Belgian block. I can't really represent whether that's, historically accurate or not, but it is, at least from an engineering perspective, it allows us to capture that driveway runoff easily and bring it to our detention system.
So you want to capture the water that's on the driveway and send it to your detention systems, and that's what you're doing in Belgian block curving?
I wouldn't say that's why we're doing the Belgian block, but it is an add benefit of it.
Right, and that gets the oil and all that good stuff that's on the driveway into your detention.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'd also offer that the current driveways that are out there it's actually a very attractive but interesting detail. They've kind of put these bluestone gutters along the side.
Yeah.
Well, also captures the runoff, but it results in a driveway that instead of being 14 feet wide is now
Wider.
19 feet wide. So
Right.
kind of a bit of a trade-off there as well.
That's the great, Amy, that's
Yeah.
a great add-on
Yeah,
driveway.
it's very pretty,
Yeah.
very pretty.
We never get into the details of what the driveway looks like.
Yep.
Okay.
The other question that came up was, does drainage or stormwater or floodwater spill onto this property at 17? The grade at 17 is roughly 13 feet. There was I actually found a letter of map revision that went back to 2009. It's a revision to the FEMA map for 17. And that allowed a change in the flood zone designation for the house on 17 to be changed from the A zone to what was called the B zone back then. That's the 500-year flood zone. And the elevation they stated was under the NGVD 29 datum at 12. Today, that 12 would be 13 under the current datum. So it's, if things are still the same. The grade around the house is 3 feet higher than the driveway.
That's what I'm
To
trying to
give you
figure out. I want the
proposed
engineer to tell me
driveway.
that,
So,
not you.
right, you saw the last, I'm not the engineer.
I know.
So,
Yeah.
you can explain.
Flip me back to my previous slide here. Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how much water is in this natural pond and how high it's gonna get to 17.
Right, yeah, so, you know, and that's it. I mean, I think, again, as we mentioned earlier, and I think the commission understands, you know, this area is acting kind of like its own little detention system right now, and we are kind of preserving that. And so this is the physical lowest point is right here, and that, I believe, those pictures that were submitted to you are effectively looking across that area that is functioning as this low area. So all that ponding you saw in those pictures was, you know, kind of right here in this location. And so they were probably standing, you know, somewhere around this location when they took those pictures. From this from this area, this property rises up towards the house at 17. It rises up towards the house at 13 Cross, that we'll be discussing next. And I believe the outlet, or the overflow, if you will, of this detention system would be out almost along the edge of our driveway towards Cross Road. This ponded area isn't ever going to reach the house at 17 Cross. It will always overflow this subtle knoll here and head out to Cross Road before it ever gets up to backyard. You know, my reluctance to adding more detention system is given.
Well, let me do this first, before you get into it. The Seymour, my eyes got really bad, but go to the Seymour survey. I'm just trying to look for spot elevations and see the difference between the highs and the lows. Because we don't have a topo.
Yeah, can you zoom in?
Elevations are on the,
Yeah, zoom in on this.
The Seymour
his
one.
map. It's on his map.
There we go. Fill up a little bit.
Down there?
Yeah, so, yeah, this gets a little grainy, but the high point through here, shoot, yeah, this is really hard to see. But if you've got a copy of, the paper copy of our plan, I think, yeah, we don't have any spot elevations here.
So on where the eastern area is?
Yes, on my plan, there's spot elevations, but not the, you're currently.
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
Do you want that?
Sure. Sure. Give me a copy of my own plan. All right, so, yeah, I'm sorry, I think the transition to the PowerPoint, we lost a little definition here. But, I believe we're at 10 point, oh my goodness. I believe this spot elevation here is 10 point, this is the low point.
That one's 9.5.
9.5. We're headed down at elevation 9. This is our 10 contour curling here, and then as we crest back over this slight knoll here, we're at, I believe it's either 10.1 or 10.2, and then
The road's at 10.3, right? And
the road itself is way down at 8. Like the curb cut's down at 8. So this is, again, this is like the low point, and then we're shedding off towards Cross Road.
Yeah, the high point's 10.3.
The high point's 10.3, which is in the beginning of the road,
Yep.
right? And then the low point, how come I'm seeing 14 here?
14 would be up 10, 12, this is 14 all
Right,
the way.
those
So as it's
square-
coming
those-
back towards the main
Right.
house, we're
Yeah.
going uphill.
The squares are also spot elevations, right?
The squares are also the proposed, our proposed spot elevations, yes.
For the road, okay.
Yeah, so this is 16, 14, 12, 10, low spot at the drain at 9.5, and then heading back up to a subtle high point at 10.3, and then back down to the road.
And
So,
then what's the westernmost spot elevation you have?
western, yeah, we don't, this is the low point at 9, I don't have any additional spot elevations to the west, but this rises back up.
It looks like it flows on to Cross Road. It goes
What's
10,
this
3,
one?
9 to 8.
What's that?
That's just a 30-foot area. That's not a spot elevation.
Yeah, he's pointing to the driveway
That's
where
it.
the as it goes to
Yeah.
the road.
If you're looking at your cutout, right, doesn't it go from 10 to 10.3 to 10 to 9 to 8?
Yeah, so this is sort of where that detention system is proposed is a very subtle high point, and then this flows back down across the road. So that's right, yeah, so the mechanism that this ponded area would overflow when it fills up would be kind of out, kind of along the side of the driveway.
So it hits that
across
10.3 and that's your peak.
Yes,
So
that's the peak, that's the peak on
very
the driveway.
minor, very minor peak.
Yeah, very minor peak. And then
Okay,
the,
so if we put a berm on the west side of the driveway, along that property line, a new property line, does that make any sense?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the berm is, you know, again, we're now we're kind of changing the existing drainage patterns. I mean, I would prefer to just let this low spot be what it currently is, allow the driveway to be slightly submerged when we have those types of events, and when it dries out, it'll be fine. I think a berm, you know, I don't really see any real advantage to the berm. I don't think we're ever going to have water head to 17 Cross.
You were about to say your hesitation for adding more stormwater was, and
Yeah, so the additional stormwater detention, you know, I think the recommendation from Mr. Devenza was to add, supplement this detention system and make it larger. You know, I think relative to the amount of volume that's being stored in this low area, I think additional detention isn't going to kind of move the needle very much. I think we're still going to have a ponding area here, and we're just going to have some more detention units over here. I don't think it's going to solve the ponding problem, and therefore, you know, it doesn't seem to be necessarily, you know, cost effective to do so.
Because he's looking for, it says there appears to be room for a third row of galleries which would further increase the capacity of the system and further mitigate larger storms. Is that in a gallery that's closest to the road?
I think that, yeah, this would be this detention system here, room to expand it to the west, room to raise, make a larger detention system just in general.
So why don't you want to do that, or why can't we do that?
You know,
It can't cost that much. You're digging a hole anyway.
You're doing it good.
I don't, you know, I
he's saying he
hesitate.
doesn't think it'll move the needle.
I don't think it'll change our, if the reason for the detention system is to eliminate the ponding in this location, I don't think we're going to solve that issue with additional detention.
Because we don't have to, we don't, what I was trying to get to was what's the volume of water that's in this natural detention
That is a
system?
calculation I have not done.
Right, and then divide more, I don't care if you had 8 rows to that little thing, you're not getting all that water into that little.
Yeah, I think a lot, without you know, going through that full exercise and calculations, you know, that would be my take as well. Additional detention isn't really going to solve this stormwater ponding area that already exists.
Water in there.
Do we want any more detention topo maps or anything like this for?
No, I pulled up the regular map. You can actually see them a lot better now. I pulled up, the other map was from the presentation. This is the actual map. You can see the topos. I mean,
It's pretty detailed.
yeah.
Water's never gonna get up here.
It doesn't, I mean, it's one of the things we've learned from planning and zoning. Water doesn't flow upwards.
Right.
It's a very basic lesson.
I could even say that.
We'll take the engineer's word.
Yeah, I like him talking, no offense, you know, for PE, you get an ESQ.
I mean, the only thing you could suggest maybe is moving the detention system to the east side of the driveway. That way it has to flood is there a reason why you picked the west side of the driveway versus the east side of the driveway?
Yeah, I mean, really it just came down, I mean, we did some soil testing over here, and the soils were just, we just did some real nice bank run sand and gravel in that spot. This was the best location of all the testing we've done. I mean, you know, it very well could be similar on that side. But I just didn't have the test there at the time to verify it.
It's a little bit lower on the bottom side of the driveway too.
On the
By
correct,
like
yeah.
6 inches.
Okay. All right, I think we beat this one. Would anybody else like to speak to this application? We heard one, two.
Cover everything? I think we covered everything.
We covered a lot. Do you want to say anything else, Amy? Do we ask any questions of you?
No,
I'm not going to close this because we'll be hung up for another.
I think, I don't want to take any more of your time. I think the only thing I wanted to say is that I don't think we are going to solve the ponding problem by adding additional galleries, but what we will do is ensure that there is more of this driveway, the new impervious surface water is actually being collected as opposed to simply being runoff that's being treated. What we would like to see is some collection of this new impervious surface so that, again, as time goes on, it is low going towards 17, and that as time goes on, there's not more water coming towards 17. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Where's that engineer again?
Tom?
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 He's in a conference with the developer.
Sorry.
So in the case of a small storm, right, because our driveway is now higher than it was, the driveway's going to go up 1.5 feet or something like that?
No, it's only going up about 4 inches, really. It's coming up very slightly through here.
Okay, so are the two sets of galleries you're putting in, is that going to hold all the water that's going to be on this driveway? Because you're having Belgian blocks, which are basically gutters or guards on either side of the driveway.
Right.
And you can direct the water to drains in the driveway.
Right. So yeah, the detention system using the water quality calculations is designed to hold the first 1.3 inches of runoff that it's going to capture. It doesn't account for infiltration, so we'll probably hold a little bit more than that. As I said, the soils over there are pretty good. But that's really, that's the extent of the analysis that we've done on that detention system.
Okay, because to me, you might have ponding on the grass on either side of this new driveway.
Agreed.
It should be, the driveway itself should be dry.
That's sort of the intent. I mean, I think, this driveway, will be, if we get a storm that results in the types of pictures that were submitted, this driveway will be underwater.
Right, I'm not asking that.
Yeah.
I'm asking when we get a small one where there's water in the grass.
There won't be any ponding on it. And I've been on this site multiple times after normal rain events. There's never any ponding in that location. It's really, it seems to be, specific to very large storm events.
Okay, because I get ponding in my backyard just for kicks.
Yeah.
But the driveway's dry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So it's close the galleries are close to taking all the water from the driveway.
The first
inch and a quarter.
First inch and a quarter runoff in the
Got it.
driveway, yes.
Got it. Okay. Anything we're missing, Jeremy? No. Okay. Any last statements? You good?
I think we covered everything.
Okay. All right. Ready to close, right? We're all done? So we're good?
Yep.
Okay, with that said, asking for a motion to close. Adam makes a motion, Ian makes a second. All in favor of hearing closed. All right, good. Thank you. Exactly, let's do it. All right, next item on the agenda, and it's now, Mr. Riley's going to come back into the hearing.
Is that right, though?
Is what?
I'm back. Is he objecting to 13?
Oh, no. No, she's not. There's no letter. She's allowed to speak if she wants to. All right, next on the agenda. Flood damage prevention application number 450, land filling regrading application number 579, PL 24-149, 13 Crossroad LLC at 13 Crossroad. Proposal to raise the existing residence and construct a new single-family dwelling with an attached accessory dwelling unit in generally the same location, construction of a new driveway and parking courts, terraces, and a pool, and perform related site development activities within regulated areas, including the regrading of the property, installation of new septic system, and stormwater management. The 2.74 plus or minus acres subject property is located on the south side of Crossroad at its intersections with Tokeneke Trail and Maywood Lane, and is shown on Assessor's map number 69 as lot number 7 in the R1 residential zone. Gentlemen, what do you got?
CAM was also waived by staff in a letter to the applicant dated October 21st. Steve, as you mentioned, this application is also inclusive of a 696 square foot attached ADU as part of the new house. The application was submitted in conformance with sections 820 and 850 of the Darien zoning regulations under flood damage prevention and land filling and regrading regulations. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated 11/6 or November 6th. Was also referred out to the health department. The health department approved the proposed septic system for this lot on October 23rd. Again, we have Robert Maslin of Maslin Associates, the applicant's representative, here to present the application and to answer your questions.
Good evening, everyone, again. Robert Maslin for the record on this application. I represent 13 Cross Road LLC. With me, Belinda Metzger and Nancy Gramps there. You've seen them sitting there in the last application, nice and quietly. Dan Conlon is our architect. He's the gentleman with the beard and the glasses in his hair in the back. Tom Nelson, you just heard from in the front row. This is 13 Crossroads. Some of what you're about to hear is a little bit duplicative, but that's just because these two sites kind of run a parallel and we just have to make two records. So we're looking for flood damage prevention permit for site work, not for the house. The house is completely outside the flood zone. If necessary, land filling and regrading for site work, and the site work amounts to driveway, septic system, and drainage system. And finish grading around the house and proposed pool. Waiver of the fresh meadow approach based on a based stormwater management system under section 880, I think it is. No work is proposed in inland wetland areas or adjacent upland review areas. New water quality system to treat first flush of runoff. You heard all about that in the previous application. We have a new fully compliant on-site septic system and no commission review is necessary for either the house or the accessory dwelling unit because both of them are outside the flood zone, outside regulated areas, and the ADU qualifies as a attached ADU of right, and it has, what is it, less than 750 square feet. The floor area, you saw a similar map in the other application. What we're talking about is this building site up here. The new boundary is going to be roughly here. The survey will show you exactly where that's going to be.
So that's the lot that's 13 cross, and you're going to cut off 16 cross, right?
Correct. Yeah, you saw the comparison map showing where the driveways were, but I wanted to include this here because it shows where the existing house was on 13. It's amazing what you can find on the internet if you look hard enough.
You're the guy.
Okay, here's the survey and the new boundary. So this lot area is 2 3/4 acres, plus or minus. And again, as I mentioned before, these boundaries are kind of zigzag in order to give the private property owners control over the meadow so they can mow it rather than depending on the land trust and putting the burden on the land trust. There are 2 pockets of wetlands here, according to the soil survey. One is up in the northern part of 13 Cross Road, adjacent right to the intersection of Cross Road, and I think that's Homewood. The other one is on 16 Cross Road, a little off-site, but the 50-foot upland review area extends onto 13 Cross Road. And as you can see, none of the features here is located within the upland review area of either of those two inland wetland areas. This is what the old house looked like. I'll kind of go through these quickly. That's what's there today. And here are the proposed conditions. So I think we'll start with the engineering and then go to Dan Conlon for the elevations. I don't have the floor plans programmed into here because I don't think you need to see them.
We just like the number of bedrooms and the square footage of the house.
Okay, that, I'll let Dan talk about that when it's his turn. Okay.
Again, Tom Nelson, professional engineer from Ford Engineering. We prepared the septic system site development plan for this parcel. Again, just to orient ourselves, this is the intersection of Tokeneke Trail and Cross Road. These are those stone pillars that we just discussed in the previous application with a new driveway to Tokeneke Trail. It's going to extend from this is the existing driveway that currently serves Cross Road, and this is the existing, recently demolished, former carriage house is in approximately the same location as we're proposing the new house. In the dark blue, that is our 100-year flood zone at elevation 13. You can see the entire house, and the vast majority of our developed area is above that 100-year flood elevation. That obviously was probably the main driver of the location of this house, but again, we also were very respectful of the existing mature trees, which there's a lot of on this property, so you'll notice we've really kind of tried to keep our development footprint tight to the house. We've respected all the existing mature trees on the fringes of these properties, and actually there's a beautiful old oak here that is sort of the focus of, you know, the center line of this house, sort of the view of this oak here. The wetlands also were a bit of a driver here. Those are shown in green in our 50-foot regulated area. We made sure to keep our grading and site work outside of that regulated area. And then, you know, what's left is the house shown here in I don't know, burgundy. The proposed driveway. This is a new curb cut that has been approved by the Tokeneke Association. That'll come to a small parking court in the front and then come through a covered, I'll let Dan explain more, but this is the accessory dwelling unit here, and then this is the main house. So this driveway comes through to a parking court and a garage. Behind the house, we have a swimming pool and patio area. Our septic system is shown here just to the west of the house. We are outside of the flood zone. Unfortunately, we did try our best look in this area and try to keep that septic system above the flood zone, but we just didn't have the soils over here. We've got good soils over here, so that sort of forced our hand on the septic design. Stormwater management, once again, focus on water quality. We've got a small detention system in the front, capturing some of the front roof leaders and this front parking court, directing that to the underground detention system designed to handle the first 1.3 inches of runoff, and a much larger detention system in the back, capturing the rest of the driveway, a good chunk of the patio, and the majority of the house, and sending that back here. Focusing on maintaining those existing drainage patterns. Once again, we are faced with more low points. This pretty much the whole frontage along Cross Road is a low point. This is all around elevation 8. Cross Road is at elevation 9. So this is another area where water is just trapped. We're not changing any of that. This runoff, you know, any overflow from our detention system or from the yard areas will just continue to match those existing drainage patterns and be captured here along the road.
You mentioned your detention systems. Were those sizes of those detention systems calculated with the Fresh Meadow approach?
No, this is all just water quality treatment.
And why is that?
Due to our proximity to the coastal, we're within the coastal flood zone, our proximity to the Long Island Sound, and also the fact that, you know, again, we're not really impacting any adjoining properties. This water is also...
Have we ever done that before, other than when it directly sheds into?
Yeah, usually it's what, the lower third of the watershed is the standard, Tom?
Right,
Okay.
right.
We waive it when it's lower third. 'cause-
When it's the lower
Yeah,
third,
you don't want to hold
not
water.
direct? Okay, okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
it was something that the time bond had also reviewed and
Okay,
agreed with
thank
as
you.
well. Let's see, yeah, so the front of the, these low areas are in here, and then again, this back area, this is that area where we've sort of seen the pictures of the ponding back through here, so we're just sort of staying off of that and kind of keeping our development contained into this high point of the property. I will note, there is a basement proposed. We did try to keep that basement elevation above the observed water table. However, I think we are probably about 1.5 feet into the seasonal water table. There's an interior sump pump proposed, and I propose to outlet that to the rear of the property towards, this is the parcel that will be donated to the land trust. This is the existing wetlands area. We're about 30 feet away from that property line, but this is the direction we're proposing to discharge that sump pump.
What's the height of the basement?
Basement floor elevation is 6.5. The first floor elevation of the house is 16.5.
So it's a 10-foot.
It'll be a 9-foot ceiling with a foot of joists, but 10-foot difference from floor to floor, yeah.
The crawl space is out of the flood zone though, right? Or
Yeah,
the
we have
crawl
no,
space
yeah,
is-
exactly. We have nothing, none of the buildings within the flood zone, so we're
The
not.
base flood elevation.
What's that? Yeah, the whole house is outside of, up above the flood elevation, so there's no risk of inundating that basement with flood waters, because those will all,
Be around it.
beyond it. And specifically, the house, the perimeter of the house was graded to make sure that, we're not lowering that grade and creating some kind of inlet. And the basement itself actually doesn't take the full footprint of the house.
I was going to say that, how big's the basement relative to that?
So there's none for the accessory dwelling unit, there's none below the garage or the front entry here, and it represents probably about 2/3 of the main house footprint. There's a dashed line on my plan that you may be able to see, so.
And there's a crawl space too, which is.
Yeah, this end will be crawl space.
Where are the mechanicals?
So the mechanicals here behind the garage, that pad is elevated to elevation 15, so that's 1.5 above, 2 feet above the flood zone.
Do you have a generator? Did I miss it?
We don't have one specifically shown, but I've sort of, there's a very good chance we will end up with one in this same vicinity.
You got the sump, you're gonna need a generator, right?
What's that?
If you have the sump, you're gonna need a generator, right?
That's an excellent point, yes. We're gonna want a generator.
Two sisters are smiling. Yeah.
So yeah, this is the AC and generator and pool equipment pad are stacked here behind the garage.
Is the pad big enough for a generator?
We might have to elongate it for the generator.
You gotta make it bigger?
I think we would look to make it longer, yeah.
But we have no lot coverage, so that doesn't matter. And what about, is this gonna run on propane?
Yeah, I was gonna say, where's the propane tank?
Where's the propane tank?
We.
You're not having an electric generator or diesel generator?
No, we will probably, you're right, we should show provision for underground propane tanks
I was
as
gonna say,
well.
you're not gonna have 85-gallon side mounts.
No, this will be an underground propane tank, probably 1,000 gallons.
If not 2.
Yeah.
So you gotta add that.
Yep, absolutely. No.
The house is gonna run on gas, right?
What's that?
The house is gonna run on gas, probably gas?
I don't know. We can ask Mr. Conlon when he comes up.
Okay. Okay. Anything else on the engineer we need to know?
You're gonna have pool heaters, that need gas.
Yeah, you gotta have a pool here. They wanna have the heated pool in the winter, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is 1,000 gallons enough?
Yeah, I think these are all valid points, something we'll absolutely have to revise this plan to show the propane
That's the point,
generator.
in a house of this size, we've seen 2 either 500s in the ground or in different locations because maybe the generator's on one side and the pool equipment's on a different side, so.
Right.
So we don't wanna hold up the application and close the hearing for this revised plan, right?
These would be minor changes unless something else comes out.
Yeah, all right, so.
Well, the locations we're talking about are not in the flood zone, and it's pretty much a staff review.
You're allowed to put a propane tank in a flood zone, it's gonna be bolted down.
Well, you are, but we don't need to come to the commission if it's
No,
not a flood
I
zone.
would rather close the hearing, and not, the two sisters don't want to come back yet. They enjoy it.
You want to hear from the architect?
Yes, please. How many square feet is your house?
We have, for the record, Dan Conlon, architect for the project.
Welcome, sir.
The living area of the house is 8,300 square feet, plus we have a 696 square foot ADU. There's 5 bedrooms in the main house. The ADU will be a single bedroom. We're obviously well under on building coverage due to the size of the lot, and we comply with all other zoning regulations, height.
What about
bulk, and so
bathrooms?
forth. Number of bathrooms.
In the main house?
6 full baths.
6 full baths in the main house?
Correct.
Okay, and then one.
One in the ADU.
Okay. Okay, that, we have to make sure that the septic system's sized enough for 7 bathrooms.
The septic, well, the septic's been reviewed and approved by the health department, and septic sizing is based on bedroom count, not
Right.
bathrooms, so
Right.
it's been approved.
Okay.
Strange. Anyway, to the extent that it helps you out a little bit, a couple things architecturally. We do have a partial full basement in this, roughly half of the footprint of the main house. The other half is crawl space. The ADU and the garage are going to be slab on grade construction. The ADU, we use the more restrictive of your regulations, calling this part of the principal dwelling, even though it's kind of a freestanding building. So we limited it to 700 square feet, whereas otherwise it could be 1,000 under your regs if it was considered detached. And basically, there's a porte cochere that leads to a motor court that you can see on the site plan, and that's how the ADU is connected to the main house.
So that's the ADU there to the left?
Correct.
And then what's the thing to the left of that?
That's the garage beyond.
In the background.
It's a 3-car garage beyond, so you drive through a porte cochere here, you go into a motor court, and that's how you access the garage.
Oh, yeah.
Easier to see on the site plan.
Those peaks, I got you, I got
You
you.
can see it on the pole right there.
Right.
Walk you through.
Yeah, so there's the garage right there.
Okay. ADU's got a chimney, I like that.
ADU's got a chimney and a fireplace.
Sweet.
It's Tokeneke.
No underground tunnel?
The one underground.
The best.
I need one. All right.
And we will be doing a propane-fired HVAC, so we're going to have electric heat pumps with gas backup.
Okay. And then how big of the tanks do you think you need?
Minimum 1,000.
Okay.
Minimum 1,000 gallons.
And where do we think those are going to go on the site plan?
Well, the best spot for them is going to be located by the motor court for servicing, so up in this area. We'd like to keep it out of the flood zone so we don't have to do all that anchorage
Right,
to
exactly.
protect against flotation.
Okay. Any questions for the architect?
I don't believe so. No.
And did you have any questions for Tom, the engineer? I forget to ask them.
Think
George?
Yeah,
Are we
I
first?
think so.
You good with both?
Yeah, professional.
Okay. You good? Adam?
Yep.
Good, I'm good. Am I
Yep.
too square?
I'm good.
Okay. Hold on. Would anybody in the audience like to speak to this application? Seeing none, you're good? Great. Fantastic. All righty. What are we missing, guys? It's a brand new 5-bedroom house with 6 bathrooms and then an ADU with 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. That's 700 square feet, which is beautiful. Motor court, 3-car garage, you said?
3-car garage.
3-car garage. Okay.
It's labeled as a 6-bedroom residence.
Well, you said it's a 5-bedroom resident, the 6th bedroom is the ADU. I know the plans say 6.
Okay.
It's supposed to be 5 plus 1.
Because they're calling it an attached structure, so that's why.
Yeah, I designed it with an extra bedroom in mind. A lot of times when we get to the health department, things that Dan thinks of as an office or even a big closet these days, the health department says, hey, you know, all you gotta do is slap a door on that and it becomes a bedroom. So
Okay.
that was looking at the second floor footprint. We kind of, out of abundance of caution, we called it a 6-bedroom house just in case the health department interpreted it differently.
And you needed that to be able to size a septic tank.
Exactly, yeah, so the septic system is actually slightly oversized for a 6-bedroom house with a 1-bedroom accessory dwelling unit.
And there's only 1 septic system, there's not 2.
Right, yes, the code allows us to combine, and we did what they call a central septic system, which the state has already approved for this lot.
Okay. They have those all over Greenwich.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just remembered. Dan, can you just show me where the parking is for the ADU?
If you can bring up the site plan.
Parking?
How many ADU needs one parking space, right, Chairman?
Correct, correct. And in that motor court, there's an additional parking space in addition to what you need to back in and out of the garage.
So the idea is that they'd use one of the garage parking spaces?
Correct.
Okay.
We need a sign out that says parking only for ADU.
ADU tenant only?
Might be me. You never know. I'll cut the grass.
I mean, they're nice ladies.
They need some work to work. They need a houseboy. Okay.
Boy.
With that said, we're all done.
I'm good.
Look for motion to close.
Yes.
Mike makes a motion, Amy makes a second on the table.
Okay.
Fantastic. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing's closed, we'll deliberate this as soon as we can.
Thank you.
All righty. Next item on the agenda.
Oh, he's in hall.
Next item on the agenda, land filling regrading application number 483A is an apple, also known as PL 24-154. Brendan and Jacquelyn McNamara at 55 Maywood Road. Proposal to construct a new pool, patio, and retaining walls and to perform related site development activities, including the regrading of the property to accommodate the improvements and installation of stormwater management. The 2.11 plus or minus acres subject property is located on the west side of Maywood Road, approximately 850 feet north of its intersection with Delwood Road, and is shown on assessment map number 44, assessment number 4 as lot 101 in the R2 residential zone. Gentlemen, what do we got?
This is a new 20 by 40 foot pool with an associated patio, regrading, and retaining walls. The application was submitted in conformance with section 850 of the Darien zoning regulations under our landfilling and regrading section. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated October 30th. The applicant's engineer and representative, Avon Bear of Casutis Engineering, submitted a response to Mr. Canis's comments dated October 31st. We also referred the application out to the building department. The building official, Mike Vitti, submitted comments for the record dated October 24th, noting no issue with the application. Avon from Casutis Engineering is here this evening to present the details of the application and answer your questions.
Fantastic. So you're putting in a pool?
Put in a pool, that's the very gist of it. A little more complicated than that, just because.
Anybody on the swim team?
Nah, I don't think there's anybody on the swim team
It's a great
in
swim.
their house.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Get you to college, man. Going over, here we come.
All right,
Go
so
ahead.
good evening, Commissioners. My name is Avon Bauer. I'm a project engineer with Casutis Engineering. I'm a licensed PE in the state of Connecticut. And I'm here on behalf of Brendan and Jacquelyn McNamara in regards to their project at 55 Maywood Road. So just a little quick background. It's a single-family residence with a small accessory garage. There's 2 retaining walls in the rear of the property, a little hard to see here. But if you see where my cursor is, there's one that kind of flows right here, and another one that comes right up back over here. And that's to create a little bit of access to the rear of the property, which is heavily sloped. The property slopes about 30 feet in the backyard alone from the top of the property down to where the patio elevations are. Everything is coming down from the west to the east towards the residence. There's a small existing swale on the north side of the property with this existing yard drain that picks up some of the overflow from the runoff that comes down the property and directs it down into that little stone drainage channel back over there. All the overland flow right now is currently untreated. I don't believe there are any drainage systems on this property for anything, the driveway or the building itself. And what the owners would like to do is construct a new pool and patio areas with some pretty significant regrading and retaining walls just to create a little bit of flat space that they could utilize for the backyard, as well as kind of improve the whole aesthetic of their backyard, being that there's not really anywhere that they could really entertain aside from a small patio right off the back of the house. And that's sitting right about here on the north side. The construction of the pool would entail the removal of those 2 retaining walls I was talking about and the construction of 2 different terraced walls on the upland side of the property. And what that does is it gives them about a 20-foot swath behind those walls without having to, that could be a little bit flatter and kind of be usable space for, just to throw a ball around with their kids and things of that nature. We're anticipating a pretty hefty amount of excavation in regards to these retaining walls, with about 1144 cubic yards of fill coming out, which is about 50 to 60 truckloads. But everything that we need to do grading-wise, as much as we can keep on site, we're going to keep on site for sure.
Where are you going to put it if you keep it on site?
Well, there's a little bit of regrading that needs to happen in regards to the walls to maintain that swale that's heading to the north, as well as just some feathering in of the patio areas. There's a little bit of fill that's going to be required on the pool, the downhill side of the pool, just to kind of level that plateau out that's sloped.
Okay.
The existing impervious area or the impervious area overall is going to increase by about 2875 square feet, but the majority of that is being captured by the slot drains around the proposed patios, as well as the pool overflow is being directed to our drainage system here on the north end of the property. Now, we did respond to Joe Canis's comments, but we have not received any feedback yet. However, all of his comments were fairly minor in regards to just some conservative measures he was asking us to take for the drainage analysis. The drainage system has been designed to mitigate the 2 through 50-year storm events for both rate and volume, as well as collect and detain the water quality volume and provide groundwater recharge. The entire down gradient portion of the property has a silt fence around it to prevent any kind of sedimentation impacts to down gradient properties. And there's a giant protected stockpile area that would really only be necessary during the excavation and removal of material, which will also be protected with a silt fence on the down gradient side. We're proposing a small mud tracking pad just to the construction access off the existing driveway here on the south side. And we're going to maintain all the historic flow patterns, so we're not increasing any kind of water or diverting it. If anything, we're actually probably slowing the rate down overall because we're reducing the amount of slope that's directed to the neighbors. But all of our activity is cut in, so no water is going to be directed to any neighbors by any filling or anything of that nature. I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions, and I appreciate your time.
What's the plan at this point in time for when it's going to be constructed? Because I'm just want to know about the 50 trucks that are going in and out.
Ideally, we'd like to do this during the winter, so this way there's a less probability of any kind of rain coming in the spring that's going to wash any mud. We'd prefer, ideally, we'd like to achieve approval from you guys at your next hearing in a couple of weeks, so that this way over the holiday period we can go for permitting, and by early winter we can start.
Great. Okay. So you're putting in a pool, you're moving some, you're getting rid of some retaining walls, you're filling in, or you're leveling out the back so you can put in the cross go in behind the pool, and then slope it up. Right.
For the most part, yeah.
George, any questions at this point, sir?
No, thank you.
Adam?
Is the generator that's in front of the proposed pool equipment pad there currently?
Yes, yeah, that generator exists, and there's a propane tank to the side of it as well.
Where is the propane tank? Oh, I see.
See the
propane
tiny
tank,
little
yep.
fill cap just to the right of it.
So is there any, because your pool pad is just far from the pool, is there any issue with, the generator right there, the propane tank right on the other side, and you're going to be running, PVC pipe
Sure.
for the pool filter and the heater?
So they're going to have to probably expose the lines from between the generator and the propane tank anyways, because they're going to have to connect the pool heater into there. So, that's something that they'll take pretty good care with to make sure nothing gets hit
Okay, because it's just I think it's the furthest one away I've ever seen.
Yeah, I understand. It's just unfortunately with the way
Yeah.
the existing patios are, in order to kind of hide it and screen it, that's the best location
You
for
kind of
it.
have to go around that wall, but not through your leader.
Yeah, we would probably go, through that little clearing there and then come straight down and into the
Okay.
pool equipment.
Okay. Mike?
The only thing, the well's just site located from, what, as-built, is that what it says?
So that's actually from the as-built on file with the health department. So the well is actually underneath an existing patio. It's been, I spoke with Mindy about this, and she's okay with it so long as we can maintain the proper setbacks, which is 25 feet to the pool and any drainage structures, which we do.
Yeah, I mean, that one pipe's right on the 25 feet, right?
Yes, 25 feet.
Okay, nope, nothing to make.
Amy?
Good.
Good. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this application? You're allowed to campaign for yourself. Great. We miss anything? Put a pool in the backyard, doing some grading and adding some slope there, okay? With that said, look for a motion to close. Amy makes a motion, Mike makes a second. All in favor? Hearing is closed. All
Thank you
right.
very much, Commissioners.
Thank
Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Do you want me to do anything specific with this court or just?
Yeah, it's pull it.
And again, we can leave this open for.
Thank you, guys.
Joe's.
Have a good night.
Kitchen, TV switchers, all stars under CCD. All right, that is the end of the general, end of the public hearing. Now we're going to go back into the general meeting. We have 3 resolutions to go through. I was not at those 3 hearings. I read the resolutions, but I want to pass it off to you because you did it.
Sure.
So, fire away.
All right. The first, do we want to read them in? I guess we don't.
You can read the first sentence, saying you don't have to read the stuff
First one,
underneath.
coastal site plan review 382, land filling regrading, application 557, PL 24134, Tresa Toscano, 201 Long Neck Road. So we have the resolution in the packet. This one was a new house and a pool. It was pretty straightforward. They're going to put the pool, they're going to put the house basically in the same spot where the old house was in. There was a bit of it was in the flood zone, but only kind of a small, small portion of it. The neighbors, we heard public hearing from them. With this is the one with the landscaping and the trees that had to be. We heard that they were basically dead and they had to go either way, even though I think the neighbor is on the land trust and wanted them to stay. There was some mention of the eagles and stuff, but the trees were long past dead, we heard testimony of. So we didn't have much, there wasn't any really consideration there about them pulling those trees up. And they're well on their property line, so they can obviously do that as of right. But other than the landscaping towards the kind of bottom area of it, it was a very straightforward application, so.
My question was, is the cottage, is that an ADU?
No, it's an office.
It's an office, okay.
And they didn't have any plans to convert it to one. We didn't hear any testimony about it. So.
Any typos, scribner's errors, or
Yeah.
comments on this one?
I didn't see any, and I'm usually the stickler for it. Anybody else see any?
No.
No?
Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve as drafted? Amy makes a motion.
Sure.
George makes a second. All those in favor? 4-0.
I'm going to recuse myself, I'm going to abstain.
One abstention. Moving along to the second item. This is the flood damage prevention application 430A, PL 24145, Gregory and Jane Baecher of 94 Nearwater. This one was a small addition, deck, elevated patio, not a very complicated application in front of us. It was a very sort of straightforward
Yeah.
thing. We heard no testimony against it. It was very vanilla as reflected by the approval drafted. It was a small addition. It wasn't anything of any substantial amount. So I didn't see any Scribner's errors or typos. Anybody else?
Yep.
Good. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve as drafted? George makes a motion. Mike makes a second. All those in favor? 4 + 1 abstention.
Got it.
Perfect.
We are moving along. Back to the agenda. The last one is flood damage prevention application 6C as in Charlie, PL 24132. Sandra Drimal of 8 North Road. This was the also very straightforward one where they were calling it building a spa, which was just basically a hot tub, which is generally in the same area where a deck or patio already exists. So there was no drainage, there was no landfilling and regrading. It was just because the spa, I believe, is in the flood zone, right? Is that why that we had
Correct.
this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, even though it's right near that, between the house and the pool.
Yeah, there's already a pool there. It was incredibly straightforward as well. So nothing too specific here. I didn't see any typos or Scribner's errors. Anybody else?
All
All
good?
good? Okay, do I have a motion to approve as drafted? Amy makes a motion. Mike makes a second. All those in favor? 4, 1 abstention.
Got it.
All right, back to the agenda. Do we want to do the meetings or we want to fund?
I would
Do
do
we want to do deliberations on any public hearing?
it's quarter to, it's
Yeah.
quarter to 10. We can do all the minutes. I was out on on 2 of the meetings, and then we had the minutes from the special meeting. Want to do all 3 of them? You want to do 1? You want to do
Well, why don't we start with the November 4th special meeting, because that
That's what I
one
was
was
gonna
1
do.
page.
Yeah.
We were all there for it.
Yep.
So that was pretty straightforward. Anybody see any issues with, all we did was go into executive session, come out, and then vote, and then we had a quick general meeting, and that was it.
Questions, comments, typos, Scribner's errors on the November 4th?
Nope.
Okay. Motion to approve as submitted. Amy makes a motion. Adam makes a second. All those in favor? 5-0. Minutes from November 4th were approved. That was the one that was on Zoom.
Yes.
And you want to do the other 2? The 22nd and the 24th? Or you want to
Sure,
pass?
might as well, we're here. Let's start off with the 22nd. While we're here, let's flow through these. We heard the application for 8 North Road, which we just momentarily approved. This was the spa, which is a hot tub over the thing. Then we started on Thorndale Circle. This is where we did hear some public testimony. We first talked about the changes to the building structures that came out of ARB. They have to go back to ARB next week at the same time as our hearing. So we'll see if there are any more changes. We talked about some lighting, some sidewalk connectivity. They've not yet gotten approval from the police, but they are meeting with them, so we've heard about that. Joe Canis came in and we talked about the fact that right now there's no retention at all. Everything sheet flows into the Stony Brook River, Stony Brook, I guess. So any improvement at all will be an improvement on the site versus what it is. We heard about the vegetation and the invasive trees that are kind of come out. We talked about the EV cars. Then we heard from a number of residents. Basically, they're very concerned about the traffic on Hecker. We heard from a traffic study about potential cars coming in and out of both Hecker and Thorndale, and how much those would increase it. Mr. Flaherty gave more testimony about the number of school kids, which I think is about 19 school kids expected to be in there. We talked about we're not sure where the buses would go, but that's sort of up to the discretion of the bus drivers. Basically, the main concern is the traffic on Hecker more than anything else. A number of people questioned why we need a curb cut on Hecker when they can just use Thorndale as it is. Mr. Klein, closed the hearing, basically, re-articulating some issues or some points about Hecker that traffic won't be really impacted, but we're going to see some more data from that at the next meeting. After that, we did some deliberation on the first item, which we just approved, 8 North Road. Then we approved the minutes, which we can't change, and that was basically it. So it was mostly at Thorndale that night. So do I have is there anybody notice any typos, Scribner's errors, anything want to add, subtract, remove? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve as drafted? Anyone? George makes a motion. Amy makes a second. All those in favor? 4.
I was not here, but I did watch the videos.
He did watch the video. 4 and 1 abstention.
Abstention.
And then we will do the 29th, which was another one Mr. Mulvaney missed. So the first thing we saw was the 201 Long Neck, which we just went through the approval for. This was basically a house and a pool. We had a drainage plan for it. It was pretty straightforward. They got that in there pretty good. We saw a 94 Nearwater, which we just approved as well. There was nothing there, and that was basically the end of those 2 meetings. We did, we looked at, this one was the meeting where we saw Harry back for 224 Long Neck Point Road with a number of changes, simplifying the project as we previously approved it, basically removing a at-grade walkout from the basement, which would require a bunch of more digging and grading to just a simply sloped yard. So there'll be, when we first heard the application, there was a lot of concern about the trucks and the staging from all the neighbors, that it'll actually make this thing significantly less. So since this was just a revision to the plans, simplifying it, we did a simple vote of 5-0, and that passed. Right. So then we did some quick deliberations on stuff that was the night before, 201 and 94, which we just approved, so that's straightforward. No chairman's report. We talked about, from Mr. Ginsburg, talked about Mr. Canis's update to the stormwater manual in town, which we will think about adding or incorporating somehow into the new conservation plan as well. Mr. Netter made a motion to adjourn the meeting, and we were out at 8:06 p.m. Any typos, Scribner's errors, anything to note on this? I didn't see any comments in the minutes about the efficiencies of the meetings when run by the vice chairman. Not at 9:45 at night, but
Who's extending my meeting?
Are you seconding my motion?
Amy, Mike makes it first, Amy makes second, all those in favor? 4-0, 1 abstention.
I abstain.
And we are back in action to the agenda. We have.
That's it.
That's it. Any other business we don't want to do?
No chairman's report. I had a chairman's report for tonight, too. I'll put it
Not
next
tonight.
time. With that said, entertain a motion to adjourn. George makes the motion. I think Eddie made the second on the adjourn. All in favor?
All right.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, TV.
9:45.